welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Eric Troche, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKiernan, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, Fiber Oats, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
The water planet.
And the sky vacuum.
Yeah, it's funny. At the end of everything, they said scientists said. You know, they got to put that validation on there.
One of the computer channels I watch, Paul's Hardware, was talking about the NASA launch that's happening in the next couple of days. And he was also talking about signals that they were sending back from space to Earth, i.e. the sound of these stars or the sound of these planets. They're like, yeah, of course we can get sound from space. Just dependent on how much gas there is for the sound to travel through.
Wow, that's a contradiction.
Yeah, not much gas at 10 to the minus 17 torr, but that doesn't matter. We can still hear things. What happened to in space, no one can hear you scream. But you can hear planets. So people will swallow anything. Hey, Mitch.
Well, they got to keep the hope alive.
Why are we listening to planets?
I don't know, because people will swallow it. They tell them that they can hear the planets, and they play them some mysterious theremin-type music. And they go, oh, wow, that's a planet making that noise. Amazing. Space is real.
You got to look at the whole setup, right, Mitch? They got this Earth that we're living on dying. It's not going to last. Global warming or global emergency or whatever you want to call it. And the hope is, you know, this water planet that, you know, scientists say does exist.
Oh, don't talk like that, Neil. It's going to make me not want to have kids. 5 kids later.
I used to buy that crap too.
No. A lot of people do. Saving the world by not having children.
Yeah. And used to worry about an asteroid leveling planet Earth.
Oh, that's just fear-based mind control.
It works though, doesn't it?
It does work.
What are the two things that sell? Nathan, you always go over it. The two sales.
What? 2 sounds?
The 2 sales, the debt sale and the, what's the other one?
The sex cell.
The life sale, yeah.
No, sex cell.
Well, sex brings life, so go ahead.
Yeah, you're predisposed to want to reproduce and not die.
There you have it.
Did you ever watch
Happy
the
summer bank holiday?
Say again?
I said happy summer bank holiday. They ran out of names when they got to that one.
I didn't even know when you said something like Bank Day, and I was like, what the hell's he talking about? Because I don't keep up with holidays, and it's like, why are we being dictated to on what days are a holiday? Now, I appreciate that people have work, don't get me wrong, but when you take your holidays, it's kind of up to you, isn't it? This whole mandatory bank holiday thing, I don't keep up with it. I don't pay it any attention at all.
I'm on
Well, that's
vacation
the
right
right
now.
attitude to have.
You guys call it holiday. Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's how we know we live in a fascist system, or we can choose to live in a fascist system.
I don't know what you mean. Expand on what do you mean?
Well,
Fascist.
the difference between totalitarianism and fascism is that the government gets corporations to do the work for them. So you'll find most regulations, it comes in like, say, money laundering. That's the banks that impose it, not the government.
I see.
So, like, it becomes Bank Monday when, say, everyone who normally works decides to have a holiday. So you can't do stuff you want to do. So the trick is to buy off as many small independent people as you can, so then it doesn't really impact you, hopefully.
What do you mean by that? Buy off who? Who are you talking about buying off small independent people? What do you mean?
Well, aside to the people who are actually closed online, I would say don't buy off Amazon, because if you do, independent people won't exist in the future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. During COVID, that's exactly what my wife and I sat down and had a discussion. We're like, from this point forward, we're going to be using local services. Anybody who's prepared to be open during this nonsense, we'll use them.
Absolutely.
Which is great. We got to know a lot more of the local businesses and what they did than we previously understood. You see a hardware shop and go, that's just a hardware shop, and you go in and the woman's got a massive sewing machine set up and she's doing t-shirts, and you go, well, that's not very hardware shop. How had I not walked in, I wouldn't have known that. Not that it's particularly useful. Well, I say it isn't. My wife might be finding it useful shortly for various things that she does, but it's just a local service that we didn't know existed. But for the fact that they're telling you stay at home, order things online, you're like, no, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to go to that guy that's gone, sod you, I'm going to open my shop.
Yeah, it was great for networking too, because you only meet the people who are worth talking to when everyone's locking themselves away, scared of something that they're scared of.
I still like the looks you get. So you go out for your walk, and for me, with the kids, you go out, you go to the park, which is all taped off, and you find somewhere to go and, do a bit of exercise, get out in the fresh air, just enjoy the day generally, normal stuff. But there's nobody out. This is a couple of years ago. But there's nobody out, apart from the odd person who gives you a very wry and knowing smile. And then there's the other person that sees you and crosses the road or walks in the road so they don't have to walk past you. They put their mask on and they walk in the middle of the road. You're like, you would rather get run over than have any sort of close physical interaction with any other person. You'd rather die. You'd rather get run over unexpectedly than that happen.
Strange times. It was the best time to be out though, because you had everywhere to yourself. Like our beaches, like absolutely beautiful, usually always packed. Nobody there, had them all to ourselves. It was awesome.
For us, everything was taped off.
Yeah, they taped off the whole beach.
I was going to say, you can't really tape off a whole beach, can you?
Now, you know what? Weird story. We were walking along the beach. No one there, absolutely no one there. And we're kind of near a Navy base, and this helicopter. We heard it coming, and it came down so low, and I swear it was following us. It was only probably maybe 30 meters off the water. Just, well, I swear it was following us because it was following us. It didn't have loudspeakers or anything like the crazy ones in Sydney, but it was there for 5 minutes just watching what we're doing.
Well, it's like in Goodfellas. It's like in the movie Goodfellas when the helicopters following them.
It's good fun for the kids, though. Kids loved it.
You want to know what's sad? I haven't been to the beach once this summer. Not once. And I love the beach.
Why has that been working too hard?
Yeah, like we're on vacation right now in Dollywood. Nothing with water. The only one I could get is a hot tub.
Where are you?
Dollywood. Dolly Parton has an amusement park in Tennessee.
Oh, right.
I went on one ride with my kids, I will never. I don't know how I liked this stuff when I was younger.
Like a roller coaster
Hey, 10th, how are you, mate?
Roller coaster.
Yes, roller coaster. Take straight up, like, I mean, straight up. And then it just drops you straight down. And then you're going upside down. Oh, my God. My son videotaped it. I'm screaming the whole way.
Yeah, I remember doing that ride. It's like compressed gas, right? It charges up and then it just fires you up in the air. And then it lets you drop back down again. Is that what you're talking about?
It does a lot of stuff. It flips you all over the place. But, I mean, I don't know. I think my son heard it. I think my 12-year-old hurt his back for the first one he went on. Because if you're not like holding yourself in and you're just sitting there loose, I think he threw his back out because the whole day his back was hurting.
Yeah, I remember doing it on the Space Needle in Vegas. And it was me and a load of other staff that I worked with at the time, and they were all a lot older than me. They were all in their 50s and 60s. And afterwards, they got off and no complaints. Me, I was in agony. Like, it really strained my groin as it went up. I don't know why, but all of them, a couple of G or whatever it was, no problem. Me, it was absolute agony afterwards.
Good morning.
Morning.
And what's the G stand for, Nathan?
Groin.
They moved the goalpost with G. So with G, what's 0G? If you were to think about it logically, 0 would be nothing, wouldn't it? At rest, stationary. Well, all they've done is they've moved the decimal place one position up. So 1G is standard gravitation in a heliocentric planetoid fashion. 1G is the equivalent of 1 Earth gravity, right? But what is 1? That's stationary, not moving, not doing anything. Just at rest is 1G. Falling is 0. So all they've done is they've moved the number 1. That's all they've done. They've moved it one place.
I thought 0G was no groin for a minute.
0G is falling.
It's a play on words of what you said.
Come on, Nathan, keep up. I was following you, Ted.
Thank you. Thank you for the backup.
Well, what do we got today?
Well,
Still no proof of anything.
we don't have Aether.
Yeah, I tell you, that's getting more and more ridiculous. It really nauseates me. And Chocolate said, why does this upset me so much? And if you listen back to the shows, listen to how Nathan deals with these people, and at the end they have nothing, but they're pushing it like they have something.
Well, that sounds like a lot of other stuff that's being pushed that is backed by nothing.
You're right.
Just show what you got. That's something. Validate it, and you might get a following. But
That's my whole thing. Just validate it.
no,
Right there with you.
No, but the way people are programmed, they will follow you if you have nothing. Just say a cool story about nothing, and they'll follow that much easier.
Did you see they're going back to the moon? Artemis launch?
Yeah.
No.
It was meant to launch a couple of minutes ago, but they're screwing with you, Nathan. They've delayed it half an hour, so it's going to try and ruin your show. So everyone's watching the launch instead of the show.
So
Nobody's
back to the
watching
junkyard in Arizona then.
Nobody's watching any launch. The only launch that will take place is a firework. And that firework won't go to a second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum violation. It's just not going to
A
happen.
very expensive firework.
Yeah, an expensive firework might be viewed from the ground. Yeah, that may well happen. But that doesn't mean in any way, shape or form that what you see after it goes out of view is going to go into a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum.
But where do they go, Nathan? That's what I was told. Where do you think
Not to
these rockets
space.
go?
Not to space. It's like saying, well, I saw the kids go into the wardrobe. Well, where did they go? Well, okay, they went into the wardrobe. What, you want to believe they went to Narnia because you saw them go in the wardrobe? Your question's going to be, well, where could they have gone when they went in the wardrobe? Who cares? They're not going to Narnia.
So you're saying there's a graveyard on a rocket somewhere?
It's not being launched today anyway.
Hold on. I've got to address this for Neil. It doesn't matter what happens to the rockets. Whoever that is, just give me 1 second. It is irrelevant. They claim they go to space. So it's one of those things you hear from well, where do they go afterwards? Does it matter? They're not going where they say they go. They say they go to the sky vacuum. There is no sky vacuum, so they don't go to the sky vacuum. What happens to the rockets afterwards? I don't care. Sorry, whoever that was from Discord, go ahead.
Well, for Neil's benefit, the claim is from the other side that they drop in the Bermuda Triangle and they recover them.
So in another sense, they're all washed up.
Oh, that's funny. Listen, this guy was really arguing with me about it. He's like, listen, they going, you're telling me you're not going to space, and there's a graveyard of rockets somewhere. Yeah. Don't you think people would know about it? So that's what they hold on to, things like that.
Well, Paul is right, though, isn't he? Off the coast of Cape Canaveral, or whatever they call it now, Cape Kennedy, or they keep changing the name. What is it called now? Is it Cape Canaveral?
Who knows? Who cares? It's a cape. It's some sort of cape.
Cape Kennedy,
Yeah, I
Cape
think it's
Canaveral. That little peninsula is right on the tip of that triangle, the Bermuda Triangle, where you're supposed to lose boats. And as Paul just said, they recover them from the Bermuda Triangle. So it goes out, they follow it, and they recover what, the booster rockets or whatever from an area that typically is where they claim ships get lost. But there we go.
People are
must be
gullible.
listening.
People are real gullible, huh? If you look at everything and the way our eyes work now, people are very gullible.
I saw
I
a
was going
fella.
to say,
Go on.
they must have been listening to you, Nathan, because it's been scrubbed for the day. Looks like it's not happening.
What's happening?
Cancelled again.
Say again.
It's just been cancelled again. I was just looking at the live stream and they said it's been scrubbed for today. Looks like it would be September.
Oh, right. September
Kick
before
the
they
can
take
down the road
space.
again. Not like NASA, is it?
Well, it's
So
they
wait,
need
they're
to get
going
enough
to the
people
moon in
interested.
September?
The notion of actually going won't ever happen. It isn't going to happen. But the idea of going, that's already been achieved. So the more delays, the better. Because the people who are thinking that they're going to go to space are going to be talking in the context, oh, they've delayed going to space. Objective achieved. Delay it as long as you like, as many times as you like. Every single time they say they've delayed going to space, they've won. They've achieved their outcome.
Yeah, but that only goes so far, Nathan. People are they're gonna want results. Maybe another 20 years of delaying.
Well, we've had 50 so far, 50 years. What's another couple of months, years, decades?
But they didn't go to the moon then. And the footage shows that. The footage shows the stop motion animation that's been used to create the footage. It shows the models that have been used to create the footage. It shows how it stacks up against 2001: A Space Odyssey, but not against modern cinematography. Well, if the place was real, the quality of the camera wouldn't make any difference. If you look at an old 1940s film, like a documentary type film that's just out on the streets somewhere in the world, that appearance of the street on wherever it is, that won't ever change. You might find that the colour improves, the saturation improves, the definition improves, but the street remains the same. It will always look that way. Don't get me wrong, if you're going to say, oh, how is it might change colour? That's not what I'm talking about. The general appearance of life on Earth will always remain the same, regardless of the fidelity of the image. That's not true for the moon. That changes with cinematography quality. i.e., the quality of the cinematography and the models and the fakery, as that improves, the quality of the footage from the moon will improve. But the moon that they're showing you isn't the moon you see as a light in the sky, because you can't travel to that light in the sky if it's what they claim it is, a rock in a sky vacuum. Now, maybe we can travel to the moon, I don't know. But as far as their story of how they've travelled to their moon as they describe it, that certainly isn't the case.
How are you going to land on a light?
However, the footage says that they can land on it. They come in hot, they slow down, they fire some boosters, they land. Like you can land on Pluto in a fake film. You just make it happen, right? Whatever the cinematography requires. You wouldn't expect Darth and Luke to be having a lightsaber battle and flying around with the Force, pulling down bits of machinery from the walls to throw at each other. But if the story requires that, then that's what the story will give you.
Whatever the right is right, right?
Well, whatever they say they've done is what they say that the moon is in this regard. Yeah, we got there and we had to slow down. We used reverse thrusters and we slowed down and everything was good. It was a complete success. All right, brilliant. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear it. On with my day knowing that space is real.
The only technology that has not advanced. Isn't that something, though?
Did anyone see the thing about the Arizona junkyard?
That does ring a bell.
He was featured on Globebusters at some point, but he does his own stuff. He had the proofs, and he could blow up the images, and you could see outlines of cars in some of the shots.
You have to expand on what you mean. What shots?
Where they sort of laid out a load of lime dust to make it look like the moon in this junkyard.
Okay.
But they didn't have the foresight to remove all the scrap first.
There's distinguishable shapes of things that are obviously terrestrial.
Yeah, that sort of thing. I mean, I know it's minutiae of stuff that we don't need to get into, but it's just, it might help some people realise, get to the first step.
No, maybe it will, but I get it. We do occasionally discuss the cinematography fakery here. But by the same token, you can just do away with the entire argument by pointing out that the place they're claiming to go to cannot possibly be real. We'd all be dead if it was. The sky vacuum isn't real. So that's where they're claiming to travel through to get to the moon, automatically debunking the notion that they've been to the moon. Do I need to pull about the cinematography? Could I show the backdrops in the moon landing? Yeah. Would it convince people? No.
Nathan.
Go on.
I disagree, Nathan. I've been to Arizona. Arizona's real.
Yeah, the Arizona desert might be real, and you might be able to pretend that it's Mars. And if you believe that the rocket's gone up through the sky vacuum, and then the fake footage presented from the Arizona desert is actually Mars, then you're going to believe it's Mars. You want to suspend disbelief in that regard, and you're not being told that you're suspending disbelief. Not that you're overtly told you're suspending disbelief when you go and watch Superman, but you are of the understanding that you are suspending disbelief. Not so with space. They tell you it's real.
Did anyone see Flatsoid's live stream?
Yeah, Flatsoid's doing really well. I'm really enjoying his live streams at the moment.
He was talking to both Brenda and Ruhif at the same time.
Fill us in.
Sorry, someone was wanting to say something from G+, and I cut in on them.
I said, fill us in. Tell us more. Although I do watch his live streams, you brought it up.
Well, no, I didn't listen to it because I find spending too much time listening to Ruhif melts my brain. There was, from the brief bit I listened to, there was no mention of shoes, and shoes being a hypothesis.
How about food?
I didn't know to be food.
Had it. How you beat me to it, Nathan?
I beat both of you to it. No snacks?
Let me read what they say. It says that an ocean planet has been discovered orbiting a star 100 light years from Earth, covered by a thick layer of water and located far enough from star to support life. The exoplanet is just slightly greater in size and mass than Earth, scientists said. And they found the new world by using surveys from NASA's Tess Space Telescope, TESS Space Telescope. Hey, scientists said, so it's real.
What's a light year?
I have no idea what a light year is.
Well, we need to define that. Anybody? What's a light year?
It's
Based on-
100 light years.
I
Light
know,
years.
Neil. What's 1 light year?
1 light year is the distance to the sun, is it not?
Okay, thank you very much, 1 AU. And don't you need a radial value of Earth to kind of figure that out?
Well, their distance to their
Oh,
sun is based
dear.
on an assumption of an R value that's been superimposed onto Venus after assuming Earth has that radius value. So the scaling values are determined by R, yes.
Yeah, so since we don't have a radial value to Earth, then there's no such thing as light years.
Okay, so shouldn't we, at the end of that, when it said science, asking these scientists and asking them to validate what they claim? Shouldn't we be going after these certain scientists? Because obviously they're not scientists.
You got pseudoscience and you got real science. What science are you talking about?
Talking about the science we talk about here on this show.
Well,
don't
then
have
you
any of
can't
that.
go after anybody, because if you stick to the scientific method, it's empirical, and it's going to give you one of two results.
They don't have that.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's pseudoscience. You want to give a brief summary, Nathan, of what the scientific method is and why, when they quote their science, it's not using the scientific method?
Scientific method is a 3-step process. Observe a natural phenomena. Formulate a hypothesis, that would be your presumed cause of the effect you're studying. And then validate or invalidate your presumed cause by way of systematic experimentation. That would be you vary your independent variable and see if it causes your dependent variable. That's an experiment. That's it. That's the scientific method. Observe phenomena, formulate a hypothesis, perform experimentation. That's it. The reason that that method's so valuable and so strong, or so powerful, if you will, is because it's empirical. The second step, the hypothesis construction step, has both a null, if A, not B, not the phenomena you're studying, you don't cause it, if you vary it, and if A, then B. That's called an alternative hypothesis as opposed to a null. So your alternative hypothesis is that which you assume causes the effect does cause the effect upon varying it to see if it causes it. Well, in the event of an experiment, one or other of those two options, either the null or the alternative, will be validated. If it doesn't cause the effect, you validated. That would be prove your null. Now, while you don't directly test your null, you're trying to test the thing you assume causes the effect to see if it does. And if it doesn't, you empirically validate that that is not the cause. Now, when you go on to the pseudoscience of things like astrophysicists and their declarations about the lights in the sky, they can only reach step 1, observe natural phenomena, sometimes not even that. But if they've got a natural phenomena, they should be able to formulate the presumed cause of the effect they're studying, vary it, and see if it causes it. And if it does, that's science. They don't do that. They observe a light in the sky and then start telling you a little story about how it's got water on it. That's not science.
How do they trick us when they go into mathematics?
Mathematics isn't science.
Right, but that's the trick, right? To tell people that a calculation, they brought calculation and math and tried to say it's the same as the scientific method.
No, they just don't say it. So in the case of this example, when you've got a distance to a light in the sky that they're assuming based on the distance they've reified from a heliocentric model with an R value that's assumed, and Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion being applied, with Venus's R value assumed to be the same value as Earth, you end up with 1 AU, the distance to the Sun. And then you superimpose those distances based on Kepler's scaling values to the other lights in the sky, giving you presupposed distances to all of them based on one single assumption, well, 2. Earth as a sphere with a radius, and Venus as a sphere with the same radius as Earth. Well, all of the story that came along with the distances to this quote-unquote planet with water on it has started with the mathematics of a reified R value for both Venus and Earth. Did they mention it? No, they just told you how far it was, based on their assumptions.
So if they don't have the R, then they're just making things up, correct?
Yeah. If we had an R, we wouldn't be here. We'd be on a sphere with the measurable R value that we could validate. We don't have any of that. We can show how it's been derived from a flat plane. It's game over. Earth is flat.
How do
So
they?
they're talking about, hold on, they're talking about cameras. They viewed this with a 4-wide camera. This is not science.
That's
How do they
photography.
interject parallax?
That's photography, though, isn't it? That's not science either.
How do they interject parallax into the conversation?
I don't know. Do they have any?
They talk about it.
No parallax.
They talk about it, different seasons of the year.
The variations in parallax that they claim to observe are deviations in both the positive and negative, but they only pay attention to one, and that's what they publish. In other words, you're talking about margin of error. But the margin of error is enough for them to claim parallax. That's what they do.
Well, if Nathan said math isn't science, so
Correct.
if that's the case, then how is quantum mechanics science?
It's based on experiment.
Did you
But that's
really answer
math.
that question?
Quantum is math.
Quantum is based on experiment, not math.
Like what?
What is quanta?
The double slit experiment isn't even an experiment.
What did I
it's just
ask?
an
Did I ask about the double slit, or
There
did I
we
ask
go.
what quanta? I didn't ask what the double split was. I asked what quanta is. What's quanta?
I wasn't answering questions. I was asking.
Oh, really? So what's quanta? Is it maths?
What is quanta?
Yeah, what is it? What's quantized particles? What is it? Is it maths?
Is a double slit experiment an
Is that
experiment
answering
at
my
all?
question? It sounds like you don't know the answer. You could just say, I don't know.
I do know the answer. That's
Well,
what
what is
I'm
it?
asking.
What is it then?
If math isn't science, then how is
Yes, the
quantum?
third time you've babbled the same question at me. Now I'm trying to disprove you by asking you a question about what quanta is, and you don't seem to be able to answer it. Now, within the answer to that question is a qualification of whether or not it's maths. Do you know what quanta is?
Why am I being asked a question for a question?
To demonstrate to you that it's not maths, like you asked.
Why can't you just answer it instead of demonstrating? I don't want a demonstration.
Because you're
or
the
a
one
model.
throwing out the claim that
I want an
maths is science.
explanation
You're the
or a
one making the claim.
citation.
Do you want to answer? Do you want me to answer? Because you're the one throwing out these claims. You're saying, well, how
Yes,
can it not
please.
be?
That's why I asked.
So what's quanta?
No. If math isn't science, then how is quantum mechanics science?
Because it's physical. It's dealing with the physical. It's not dealing with the mathematical. Physical. Quantized chunks. That's physical. That's physics. The physics of what it
That's why
physically
he don't
does.
want to answer.
I'm
Okay,
telling him. I'm
then-
telling him. Why am I getting interrupted? Why am I getting interrupted? I'm
Then
telling
how is the
you.
double
It's not.
slit experiment
Why are you
an
interrupting me
experiment?
still? You told me quantum mechanics is maths. I asked you what quanta is. You didn't answer. Now I'm telling you. It's physical. That's physics, not maths.
Okay, then in the double slit experiment, what was your independent, dependent, and constant variable?
In the double slit experiment, what was the independent, dependent, and what? Controls? Controls anything that you're not varying. Dependent variables, the diffraction pattern. In more technical terms, as you've moved on to double slit experimentation, it's the wave function collapse.
Yeah, but you didn't vary.
What's
that at
wave
all. You
function
just did
collapse?
that on
What's
its
wave
own.
function collapse?
Why are you asking me?
Because you don't know. You're telling us what's what and you don't bloody know the answers yourself. You're asking me about the double slit experiment and what the independent and dependent variable is, but you don't know the answers to those questions. That's why I'm telling you.
You can
'Cause you
vary the
don't
light
know.
to create a probability. The light did its own thing for the probability.
It's not the probability. I just said it's wave function collapse. So you don't know what wave function collapse is, clearly.
So what did you?
So you don't know what wave function collapse is, and you're going to ask a new question to, what, get around the fact you don't know what you're babbling about? New question for me. Wave function collapse. That's not diffraction.
How is the double slit experiment?
Sorry, it's you don't know what the phenomena that's being studied is. Why are you quizzing me when all you do is rumpus my answers? So wave function collapse is the phenomena. What's that? Do you understand what wave function collapse is? Has it got anything to do with diffraction? You said it's maths because it's diffraction. I said, no, it's wave function collapse. Do you know what that is? That's a no. So, the double slit experiment is physics, it's science, it's not maths. The phenomena of the wave function is described mathematically, but it's still very much a naturally occurring phenomena that you can see in nature. It's physics, not maths. Describing it with maths can also be done. Wave function is a mathematical description of something we observe physically. That's physics. You clear? Don't seem to be getting a response from you. You rumpused me while I tried to tell you this. Now I want a response. I understand that wave function collapse and the probability distribution we observe physically is what's being studied. That's physics, not maths. We clear? Khan, are we clear? This is not maths, it's physics. Why isn't he answering me?
I'll tell you why. He came in with an attitude of argumentation, not one of to learn and to see what you would say to his question. He was agitated in the way he was even asking the question.
He's telling me that the double slit's maths. No, Khan, you are wrong. Incorrect. Let's just call you stupid, ignorant, thick. How dare you tell me that it's maths when you haven't got the vaguest idea what even the phenomena is that's being studied? The phenomena that occurs in physical nature. The physical phenomena. The physics of it being studied, Khan. It's not maths. Why were you telling me it was maths? Just stupid? You can answer me, Khan.
I'm gonna keep attacking it.
Tear this dick a new one. You idiot. It's not maths, idiot. Why aren't you answering me, idiot? You came here telling me what's what and rumpusing me 2 minutes ago. Now you're not even responding, you thicko. How dare you? If you want to tell me what the double slit is, go and learn what it bloody is first. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by 10th Man, John, which is Quantum Eraser. Mitchell from Australia, Chocolate Sane, Eli, Neil, and Arwin, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good morning.
Hi,
Good
Nathan.
morning.
Hello. Good
Hello,
afternoon.
enthusiastic bunch that you are.
G'day.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. That was very enthusiastic. I love it. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Not anymore.
You can only find it after you decided to have considerations for it.
Well, mathematically, it exists because it's the basis of 1AU.
The geometric horizon, as in the derivation that will lead to the R value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that does lead to 1AU eventually, after the assumption that that R value that you're not actually measuring because you don't have a sphere edge horizon to measure it with is actually transposable onto Venus, so that you can apply Kepler's third law to give you the distance to the Sun, when assuming Venus has the same R value as Earth. Any evidence of the distance to the Sun?
No. Let's get through these.
Any scientific
Okay,
evidence
no.
of gravity?
Scientific
that?
evidence of gravity. No, there isn't.
What about any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, they're all pseudosciences.
Does mic
Demonstrate.
drop? Does mic dropping count?
Does helium balloon dropping count? Oh, my bad, it went up.
Next.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Negative.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
The only thing it's spinning is the vacuum in between their ears.
Now we're moving again.
Is that a Q-tip from QE?
Boom.
Is that it?
No. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
I asked a bunch of people that question in another vein, and all I got was smiles.
Did you ask if you could have gas pressure without a container?
You definitely damn sure know I did.
Sounds like you asked in vain.
So in the pre-show, we were told that the science of quantum mechanics was actually maths by someone who didn't understand what
Really?
the phenomena was. Yeah. Well, you were here.
Really? So I walked into the end of the hornet's nest, and so we have phlogiston believers trying to prove their fairy tale by debunking transistors. Is that what we got here?
Basically.
Yep.
That's exactly what we got here. Bring them on.
Yeah, Kant's an ether
Where-
believer, so he wants to juxtapose the ether belief by attacking the science of quantum mechanics.
Yeah, that's right. So he's trying to prove phlogiston, his religion, by attempting, belly laughingly so, debunking transistors, essentially. These people are dumb fucks.
Hold on, let me just get QE to qualify. He said transistors twice, and a lot of people in the audience may not realise why he said that. It's very intentional. Can you explain why you say transistors specifically?
Oh, well, yeah, transistors are semiconductors. The entire semiconductor industry is based on quantum mechanics. So your phone, your computer, everything you use in your daily life is based on quantum mechanics. You idiots trying to debunk quantum mechanics is tantamount to Richard Petty in an in-race interview denying the existence of internal combustion engines. You're friggin' clowns. You're going to get smoked. It's time to smoke your dumb asses. The first one's Bobster.
Who's Bobster?
Glowbusters, Bobster, dumpster fire. Time, come out and play, chat skank. It's time. That's all I got to say.
It's the season.
Yep. The war is on the double slit experiment now.
Double slit experiment. Which double slit experiment was he talking about?
The one in the maths.
The double spliff experiment.
Did he
He was
say?
claiming-
Did he say which experiment? Did he post the paper? Did he just double slit something he heard on Wiki? Was that the game? You have no idea what's about to befall you, numpty dipshits. None.
He really did have no idea.
I asked the other day. Sorry, Mitch, go ahead.
He came in saying that quantum physics, quantum mechanics, anything to do with quanta was only in the maths. Yeah, the word quanta kind of gives it away. He had absolutely no idea.
I asked the other day what the practical application for a fibre optic gyro with a 15 degrees an hour drift demonstratable in it is for. What could you put it to use doing? So we have an example with quantum mechanics. Your computer. There you go. There's the practical application after the science. Now, this is true in most science. Most people don't really appreciate what the scientific experimentation, if explained to them in the most raw terms, is actually useful for, until something useful comes afterwards, until a cure for an illness comes that actually saves people's lives, or something like computers that makes your general existence easier. Now, that's as a direct result of scientific validation. Now, when I say, okay, it's not science, but you've got a gadget, a ring laser, a fog gyro. What's the practical application for a fog gyro with a 15 degrees an hour drift applied in it? Can you tell me what that's practically used for, given that gyros typically are remaining rigid in space so you can look at them if your plane goes out of control? If it's drifted 15 degrees and you've been in the air for an hour, it's not very useful to you anymore. So given that you ether-believing idiots think that you have some sort of validation for your stupid ether in this fog gyro, show me where a 15 degrees an hour drifting gyro is practically used, please. I'd like to see that. It isn't. It defies the usefulness of a gyro. Sounds like a lot of people got skanked. Did anybody contribute towards that 20 grand pile of crap that Bob, who's slagging me off currently, saying we don't understand anything? Did they get ripped off? Did they apply for other people's money? Because it sounds like it's faulty. You know, they need to get a refund. Because gyros aren't useful if they drift. So if your gyro's drifting, you need to get your refund for that 20 grand pile of crap that's faulty. And if you've appealed to people's money to get that piece of crap, then I'm going to have something to say about that. Yeah, if my computer turns up after people have funded it and it's faulty, then it's going to be going back to the manufacturer. This gyro is faulty. Gyros don't drift. They're not useful if they do. So if you're going to show one that's 20 grand and drifting, as opposed to all the others that don't, then there's a problem, a very real problem. It's not proving ether, it's not science, and it's not useful in practical application. So somebody somewhere is having a good laugh that they've got 20 grand for ripping people off. That's the way I see it. If you contributed to that gyro, why aren't you asking, why is it that this gyro drifts where all the others don't to be useful? Show me this 15 degrees an hour fog gyro drifting and being useful. Show me that. You can type it on your computer that quantum mechanics provided you with when you tell me.
Nathan, are you claiming there's no aftermarket use for a failing gyro?
No. The ones that prove ether are resigned to the junkyard because they're no longer going to be useful for finding your fixed position in space if you're in an aeroplane, for example. They're not useful for doing that if they're drifting at 15 degrees an hour. Now, from the ball side of this argument, I like it when they claim that gyros drift at 15 degrees an hour, because that would infer that Earth is a second non-inertial turning reference frame underneath the fixed frame of the gyro. Obviously, for that to be the case, the gyro has to be fixed and the cage has to be attached to something that's rotating at 15 degrees an hour. And if it's claimed that the Earth is the thing that's 15 degrees an hour of rotation influencing the gyro, then Earth's turning underneath the gyro at 15 degrees an hour, and that would shorten flight times. So there's a very different argument. There's a total acceptance of their premise. If a fundy globe believer tells me that a gyro drifts at 15 degrees an hour, they can't because it violates its useful properties. That's why they got some schmuck flat earther to do it for them and defy the very principles of gyros when they're doing it, so that they could use the flat earther and his broken gyro to claim surreptitiously the Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour, which is precisely what they did. Got played. Globe Busters and anybody else involved in that Netflix absolute joke. You didn't understand the principles that the gyro was claimed to be demonstrating on a turning Earth. Otherwise, you'd just pointed out that they're affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy used in this broken gyro example would infer the Earth turned underneath at 15 degrees an hour. That's 1,000 miles an hour of Earth turning underneath the gyro on the equator. We'd notice if that was the case. That's all it was used for. Now, Bob repositioning the affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy and replacing Earth turn with Aether doesn't make it any less of a fallacy that's been repurposed by Globebusters. Why? Well, to dupe all of you lot. All of you lot that watch him. Affirming the consequent and using a formal logical fallacy to substitute in when using a faulty gyro that's drifting.
Be careful, you'll get chat skanked.
Chat skanked. I'm watching other videographers pointing out where Bob's idiotic nonsense contradicts Whitsit's idiotic nonsense. So the audience is getting this. They understand the contradictions that are coming from their mouths. And that's what they are. Contradictions. Things that don't make any sense. Bob telling his audience that it's science, while Whitsit tells them that it isn't.
That's exactly what's happening.
You thought the ballers were morons. Wait till you hear the end of this, folks.
You're being duped, fellow flat earthers. That's what's happening. You've jumped out the frying pan of globe Earth and jumped straight into the fire of Aether. That's what you've done. More fool you, I've got no sympathy. If you want to come here and attack me and tell me that, no, quantum mechanics, absolutely sod all to do with the affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy that is a fog gyro, is unreal. Oh, right, are you talking to me on this computer then?
How'd he turn on his cell phone? Clowns. We're in a carnival tent, folks. This is a bigger one, if you can believe it.
But that's what my standing challenge is now out there. Globebusters want to slag me off and tell me I don't understand any of this stuff. No worries. We've just given you an example of a practical application for science, how it's useful after the fact. Now you do that with your fog gyro. Show me a 15 degrees an hour fog gyro being put into practical application. Not going to happen.
Those gyros wouldn't have any chips in them, would they?
Yeah, they do. As does the computer that they got the results from. So, but for the fact that quantum mechanics providing them with the actual useful, practically applied computers to read the results from their fog gyro, they wouldn't have been able to read off the results.
This is the greatest goof of all time.
And who is it that's been subject to it? The great.
I really can't.
So I was just going to say, who's been subject to this dupe? Oh, well, it's all the people who pride themselves on how smart they are for figuring out that they've been duped. That's the people who've been duped.
Sounds like more and more the case of the misguided gyro.
I don't know. Being convinced that you live on a magical spinning water ball flying around in a vacuum seems like a pretty big dupe.
Yeah, but at least we can somewhat picture it.
Yeah, because they gave us a picture. That's the only reason we can picture it.
Yeah, we all did at that point, but try to put that case forth with phlogiston or ether. Same fucking thing. What's ether, ether believers? Oh, get ready. Because for the challenge of the medium, because mediums are physical, get ready. Here is the debunk of that argument. Are you ready for this? Well, mediums are defined by materialists. That's it. Fucking clowns. No, you're not materialist. Ether believer. Do we have an ether believer on here? I want to ask him about this. What are you made of, ether believer? What did you sleep on this morning? When you got up, when you put clothes on, what was that? When you got breakfast, what's that toaster? Oh, you must be a materialist then. Fucking idiots.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah. Ether believers, come out and play. Clowns, ignorant. This is all based on utter ignorance with a fairy tale attachment to a religion. Where have we heard that before?
Yep, out of the frying pan, into the fire.
Well, another issue is that some of these theoretical physicist people add quantum to some of their nonsense, like quantum foam and quantum field theory, because quantum is proved, so they like to tack that on.
That doesn't help. You're exactly right. Yes, but they Jedi mind tricked them because they heard it on Wiki. Oh, it has quantum in front of it. Must be quantum mechanics.
Yeah, it doesn't. It shouldn't shock you if you understood what science was and the power it possesses, and the usefulness of validated scientific experimentation. You'd realise why people want to hijack it. Oh, quantum. Oh, well, if I put the word quantum in front of my bullshit that I need to sell, people will buy it. Yeah, that's because it's very useful to have validated scientific experimentation and then just leech off it for your bullshit.
Exactly, you got it.
Same happens in medicine all the time. Plenty of science in medicine. There's also plenty of bullshit.
Yep.
Group studies, statistical analyses, various other things like that that definitely aren't science.
I think I might know what ether is.
Oh, this should be good. Go ahead, Duncan.
So if we live inside of a container, would it be reasonable to assume that there is an outside of a container?
I wouldn't have said that was a... No, I don't think that's a reasonable assumption because you just don't know either way.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know either way. So I'm not going to say it's not a reasonable assumption because I don't know either way. Yeah, there could be something beyond the containment we must have, but I don't know either way. Like, I don't know the distance to the sun or what it is. So if you say it's physical, I could say, well, maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe there's something beyond the container. I don't know. So it's really hard to argue either way. And I'll disagree with you in both instances if you try and claim it by logical inference.
Well, I was just going to say that outside of the container is an unknown medium, and maybe that could be considered ether.
That's not an ether argument. So outside of Narnia, there's ether. Good job.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
Is it a medium? Is it still a medium? Sir.
Well, I would say it's an unknown medium.
It's an unknown medium. Can you define medium for everyone? With citation, please.
Oh. Not offhand.
A medium, this is from physics classroom. A medium is a substance or material. From Wiki, medium, material substance. From Byju's, medium, the substance. Everywhere you go, a medium in physics is physical. Substance, like water. That's a medium, right? Air is a medium, right? Yeah, you get it? That's where all this ends. It just dies right there.
No, it's going to end somewhere else. Level Up just.
Well, I think that's actually a misconception, though.
Oh, go on.
Oh, misconception.
Hold on.
of a
This is the
medium.
guy that
Really
told us
great
that.
help.
Hold on. You told us that quantum mechanics was mathematical in the pre-show, Khan. And then when I pointed out that it was physics based on the physical occurrences that are being studied, the natural phenomena, you didn't respond.
Yeah, I wasn't able to. Sorry. I'm at work.
Fair enough. I'll let you off.
Does my sound work?
Yes, 10th, your sound does work.
Yeah.
Yes, you were rumpused in the middle of that statement.
Yeah, well,
I'm
Leveled
sorry.
Up posted Phil B's comment in Master D. Now we know where those broken gyros go. Phil B says, if the gyro does not drift, it's either cheap and nasty with poor bearings or it's broken. If it's a ring laser gyro, it's out of alignment. Either way, a gyro must drift or it's faulty.
What? Must
Please help
drift?
me.
Phil
Yeah,
B,
please help
Phil,
me.
Prof. Phil, you don't understand how gyro works.
Yeah. It must drift.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, gyros are used in planes. If a gyro is drifting, you don't want to use that gyro, Phil B. Absolute moron.
I don't get why Phil B's got on this bandwagon. Well, I didn't understand until this morning. I think it was Brian pointed out, well, this is heliocentric in origin. Ether has come from heliocentrism. So obviously there's going to be some heliocentric ether believers. I was like, yeah, of course there is. Back in the day, even YouTube has been republishing these recently, the very, very early flat earth debate shows, when we had globe believers arguing with each other about ether. I kid you not. Come from Electric Universe. Coincidentally, what Bob was studying before he made his way to Flat Earth. Just managed to carry it over into Flat Earth and bullshit all of his followers.
Another scary thing is Bob's a pilot. If he thinks that gyros should drift, I would hate to see him behind a plane. Like, seriously, he should know better that gyros should not be drifting. If your gyro that is in your navigation system in your plane is drifting, you've got a faulty gyro, and he's meant to be a pilot?
Well, I've already asked, where do we put drifting gyros into practical application? Maybe Phil Beale can tell us. Because all he's done is made a baseless assertion, they must drift. Oh, really? Well, how does a drifting gyro work in practical application?
Definitely no navigation systems.
I thought they went to the Arizona junkyard.
They do. If they're drifting, they're not useful anymore.
Exactly. If they're drifting, they're not useful. If they did drift, they could find their own latitude. But a latitude needs to be entered into the navigation system so it knows where it is to begin with. If it was drifting, it could find its own latitude, but it cannot do that because it does not drift. Therefore, it is useful with navigation.
And if it did drift based on a globe Earth assumptions of latitudinal positioning, that would mean Earth's turning underneath the plane at 15 degrees an hour to cause the drift.
It's all making sense for Wolfie now. He's got a faulty gyro, so he has to adjust for the faulty gyro in his plane.
The gyro is irrelevant to Wolfie. Wolfie thinks that the drift observed from the ground, that would be Coriolis effect described on a turning globe Earth, is accountable for in a plane. When it's an effect observed from the ground, Wolfie's just thick.
Wow, so Wolfie would basically go into a room of spent up gyroscopes and then just like, oh, these are all incorrect. They should be drifting. It's gonna like try to ruin it until they all drift 15 degrees an hour. That's brilliant.
I thought the reference frames were already ruined. What
That's
happened?
another idiot, Simon Dan the idiot, telling us that the globe claim of Coriolis effect with 2 reference frames is ruined. Why? Well, because Dan doesn't observe any drift. Nothing's drifting according to Dan. We're never going to see any drift. Reference frames ruined. Yeah, that's because in reality we don't see drift. That's why Dan's giving us examples of no drift. Because there isn't any. He's trying to justify why there isn't any drift. That 15 degrees an hour that's supposed to be there because Earth is claimed to turn underneath, things not attached, so we can see them drift at 15 degrees an hour. It's called Coriolis effect. I'm sure we're all aware that the globe claims this. Well, Dan's gone out of his way to show us examples of it not happening.
Nathan.
No, I think it's the whole situation is due to broken gyroscopes. It's because they're all faulty and they're not drifting. But maybe if you correct that and you make all the gyros drift, then maybe the Coriolis effect of actual deviation because of different reference frame will also become corrected and visible again.
Can I give a real world example of what Phil B wrote? Can you imagine Phil B going on a flight, and as he's entering the plane, he sees the pilot and he says, "Hey, I just want to make sure that your gyro is faulty and drifting before I get on."
Yeah, there's been a delay. We're stuck on this tarmac for another hour. Obviously, the gyro will have drifted 15 degrees an hour, so therefore it'll be 15 degrees out when we take off. It's said no pilot ever.
They got the Coriolis corrector for that.
They can't correct Coriolis in a plane, though. That's the point that Wolfie got wrong. The Coriolis effect is only observable from the ground as you rotate beneath things, Arwin. Certainly never to be accounted for in an aeroplane, cannot be accounted for in an aeroplane. If it was being accounted for, you'd be accounting for something that isn't happening. An apparent drift observed from the ground isn't ever going to be accounted for in a plane. Wolfie's just thick.
It's crazy when you've been in this argument for like 7 years and you realize the only thing that they've tried to prove with Coriolis is to prove how we don't see Coriolis.
Yeah.
That's nutty.
Justify why we don't see the effect. Because we don't. There is no Coriolis effect to observe, so you have someone like Simon Dan showing you why we don't observe the 15 degrees an hour the globe claims we will see. Look, the reference frames the globe needs to claim there's 15 degrees an hour drift are ruined. Look, here's an example of something not drifting like we observe in our reality. Yeah, that's right, Dan, we don't observe anything drifting. No, we don't have two reference frames, but reference frames in general for Coriolis effect are very much a real thing. You can observe them if you're on a roundabout looking at anything not attached to it. It looks like it's moving when it isn't. That's what the globe's supposed to do. Not according to Dan. Dan says that's debunked. The reference frames are ruined. Wolfie says that the reference frames are reversed, and he can account for the non-inertial turning reference frame beneath his plane. Idiots. All of them. They're all thick. This is what YouTube count as authoritative content. Meanwhile, we get a tramp stamp saying that we're stupid and Flat Earth is wrong, while the authoritative content tells you that the reference frames the globe's needing to prove it's spinning are ruined. That'll get you 1 million views.
Was that the caption for his video? The one, the one he provided you that's supposed to prove Coriolis by not showing any Coriolis? was that the caption for it? Because maybe it should be.
Look, globe Earth isn't showing any Coriolis effect. No drift.
Well, the funny thing is, I was at a carousel last night, and I could have demonstrated it, but my son didn't want to.
You wanted to get on a carousel and say, look, see that tree? It looks like it's coming towards you. Now it's going away. Looks like it's coming towards me again. Now it's going away. That's me turning underneath it. That's a not actual drift of a tree. It's not really moving. Trees are rooted into the ground. But if I'm on a roundabout looking at the tree, it looks like it's drifting. That's not actual drift. Same not actual drift that's claimed in Coriolis. You on a roundabout looking at something moving in a straight path, seeming to drift because you're turning beneath it. That's what the globe Earth is supposed to exhibit. It just doesn't. And when someone like Dan realises that it doesn't show that effect, they tell us all about why it doesn't exhibit the effect that's supposed to prove we spin. And then Bob will come along and say, you know what, that crappy argument that says we spin because we've got 15 degrees an hour drift observable in gyros that don't drift. Well, here's an example of the globe claim of drift caused by Earth turning beneath. And when that drift occurs, I'm going to say it's Aether. Not Earth turn, I'll just repurpose the if P then Q, Q therefore P statement used by globe believers to assert that gyros that don't drift are actually drifting. Actually only a Foucault pendulum and a Foucault gyro that seems to exhibit this effect. Oh, and Bob's. All the rest of them are put into practical application to stop planes from flying into the ground. So is there any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nathan, I put up in Master D a cover of a book called The Ethereal Ether. Can you go to that, please?
Yeah.
Did you say Master D?
Yeah, it's now a Master D.
Yeah, gum.
It just got delusions of grandeur.
And that's because of Gem Panda. He said you were all my disciples. So I changed Master...
yeah, that's right.
So I changed Master B, which was Masturbators, to Master D, Master Disciple.
Oh,
Okay, got your
Good
book
old
up.
gem.
Can we get to the posting, please?
Yeah, we're on it. I've got your cover up.
My goodness. All right. The Ethereal Ether, a history of the Michelson-Morley-Miller ether drift experiments, 1880-1930. Look at the table of contents, next page. Perspectives on the ether. Dramatis persona of ether drift, Michelson, and interferometry,
Interferometry.
1880-1883. The classic experiment, contradictions and contractions, transformations of ether, Morley-Miller experiment, the rise of relativity, the fall of ether. Oh my gosh, we got a whole history of it. The fall of ether.
Got a problem with the experiments that you mentioned a number of times there.
Well, I do too, but again,
Number 12.
I can
You're
tell.
just reporting.
Go on, QE.
Go on.
Are you just reporting?
Yes, I'm just reporting.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, I found it interesting that when I hit Ether, they have a book saying it was there, and then the rise of relativity, then the fall of Ether. Well, what did the rise of relativity do to make Ether fall?
Nothing. It supported it. It's at the base of it.
Do you want to explain that, please? How did relativity support ether, please, Quantum Eraser?
How did Einstein said it did. Space without ether is unthinkable from his own hand.
Are you claiming this or just reporting it?
I'm reporting it.
Fair enough.
All right, so the third slide from this book says illustrations. I'm interested to know what Miller's hot dog stand has to do with ether.
So, what? Hot dog stand?
Yeah, the third.
Miller's hot dog
third
stand.
Slide.
Yeah, I see
10.
it. I just,
No, 11.
Yeah, I see it. I just don't know what it is.
Do I?
Anybody know what Miller's hot dog stand is?
There's got to be a link somewhere.
Do you not know what it is either, I take it?
Tim. I got that.
I know
Yeah.
you did.
Shh. Do you not know what it is either?
I just saw the book. I have to go research a hot dog stand to find out what it is. I don't have the time right now.
Okay, fair enough. Don't be a wiener.
That's a loser. It's not a winner.
Okay, can I take this off now?
Go ahead.
So this is Simon Dan with his demonstration of no drift.
Which definitely proves that there is drift, because that's how that works, right?
Yeah, definitely proves Earth's got Coriolis effect if Simon Dan comes along in his authoritative content and tells you that the reference frames needed to claim it are bloody ruined. Yeah, great content. No, his response to that was when I pointed out that the reference frames you're saying are ruined are the ones the globe claims to prove we're spinning. Do you know what his response to that was? Nathan's obsessed with me. That was his response.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that was his response.
With a guy like that, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Got about 400,000 views for that. Just saying, Nathan doesn't know what he's talking about. He's obsessed with me. No, I'm pointing out that the reference frames the globe needs to claim Coriolis effect are being claimed by you to be ruined, Dan. You idiot.
Well, this is how they become hypocrites because they don't stick to the official globe narrative because it can't be proven. But they believed it until they were challenged. Once they're challenged, they can't prove it. So they go against the very globe claims that we're trying to hold them to because that's who they say they are.
Well, you got to forgive them, Tim, because they can prove what they can, right? So that's why he shows us a video where there's no drift, because he can't prove drift. So let him prove whatever he can, which is that there's no drift. And hopefully that will prove that there is drift. Because, globe logic.
Well, didn't you just realize Phil B said you need a broken gyro and you can prove drift?
I'm still quite intrigued to what Phil means by that, because he's thrown out his baseless assertion that they must be drifting. Okay. Well, same goes for you, Phil. Where's the practical application for a drifting gyro?
You can't challenge Phil. His response is, I teach hundreds of students. I'm a teacher.
And you teach them that drift is required in a gyro that has an inherent principle that it remains rigid in space. That's what you teach them, is it? That they must be drifting as they remain rigid in space. No, that's definitely not what you teach. That's not what a gyro does. But I'd be intrigued to know what Phil actually thinks is the case in regards to gyros drifting. Does he think they all drift? I can show him plenty of examples of gyros that don't drift. And that's how they're used. That's their practical application.
On a side note, I wanna give a little a shout out. Well, not a shout out. Maybe pour out a little liquor to the scrubbed Artemis launch that was supposed to happen today. You know, on our venture back to the moon through a second law of thermodynamics violation. So sad.
You mean
Yeah, the gyro was drifting.
They didn't get to go through the wardrobe into Narnia?
Nope.
Oh no. Is it delayed? The wardrobe doors closed and now they'll be opened again in September?
Yep. Doors are closed.
In the pre-show, Neil was asking me, Chocolate, what happens to the rockets afterwards? If you're saying, well, I'm going to expand on what he was asking, but if I'm suggesting that it's all fake, you might get to stand at Cape Canaveral or Cape Cod or Cape Kennedy or whatever it's called now and watch a firework go into the sky and disappear from view. Does that mean that it's travelled to Narnia? No. It's the equivalent of watching the kids walk into a wardrobe. Now, if you open the wardrobe doors after they've gone into the wardrobe and they're not there anymore, do you go, oh, they must have gone to Narnia then? No, you don't, because Narnia's not real. Do you question where they went? Well, they must have gone somewhere. I don't care. Narnia's not real. It doesn't really fuss me how this magic trick's done. Making the children disappear from the wardrobe doesn't mean they went through the wardrobe to Narnia. And I don't have to explain where they went. And not being able to explain where the children went if I open the wardrobe doors after they walked into it and they're not there anymore doesn't mean that Narnia is real if I can't explain where the kids went. It just means I can't explain the magic trick. Now, in the case of the moon or space in general, it's the other way round. So the automatic assumption is that space is real, and that somehow us showing that somebody dropping a screw in the ISS when they're supposed to be in 0G should be the way we go about debunking this. No, this is 2022, not 2015. We don't need to pull apart the fake footage filmed on a set here on Earth anymore. The place they're going to is a second law of thermodynamics violation. The sky is not a vacuum. If the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we breathe would fill that space. We would all be dead. So the next time you look at a picture of the blue marble with its high-pressure gaseous clouds on the outside of it, not dispersing into the 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum that's black next to it, you'll scratch your head and go, I don't really need to wonder whether or not they're going to the moon. This picture and all of the claimed area around it cannot possibly be real. I'd be dead. There'd be no gas. The gas would fill the vacuum instantly.
You remember about a month ago or so, the picture that showed this video as well, a glass of water on the countertop in the ISS?
I think that was Chinese footage.
That was funny.
What Tenth's talking about is a piece to camera by guys claimed to be, guy and a girl claimed to be in space. And while they're doing the interview, I remember watching and going, I don't see anything wrong with this. It's just normal NASA fakery, or looks like normal NASA fakery. And then somebody zooms in on the glass of water that's just sat next to them, not floating around, perfectly level and flat, just doing what a glass of water does, not in space.
That's hilarious because I ran into that on Instagram, right? And I even took a screenshot because on it on the post, let me see, it says they kind of flagged it. Whoever posted it, somebody named the Flat Earther, he posted it and they flagged it saying, missing context, the same information was reviewed by independent fact checkers in another post. with the glass sitting there on the table as the Chinese people.
Oh, let me get it straight.
In the aircraft.
Let me get it straight. YouTube's take on this is, if you show that authoritative content is wrong, we will suppress your information. You're not allowed to show that there's a glass of water in violation of the claim of gravity or lack thereof in this instance. You're not allowed to show that. Take it from the people with the authoritative content to ignore the glass of water.
Exactly. I'll post it in Master D now. I'll post it there. You could see it.
Maybe some of the globe-believing fundies from the chat can explain this for us. Not that we need to be explaining this. We already know that it's filmed on Earth with cameras in oxygen and gas pressure. We already know that, because it can't possibly be taking place in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum, because we'd all be dead if it was. So we already know it's fake. However, given that we've already declared how fake it is and why it's fake, if you still believe that it isn't fake because you're a delusional globe-believing muppet, maybe you can explain why there's a glass of water in this image that's not floating around in 0G like you'd expect.
I posted it in Master D.
Thank you, got it.
The red warning on the bottom.
There's missing content. The same information was reviewed by independent fact checkers in another post. Sorry, what's to check? There's a glass of water there. They're floating and it isn't. Do you know why? Because they're on trapeze. They're not floating in space. You've all been had. See where it says space down here? Yeah, that's a lie. Yeah, they didn't get a trapeze for the glass of water, did they? They forgot to dupe you with that bit, didn't they? Go on, globe-believing idiots in chat. Where's the explanation for this globe-believing idiots in chat? We say fake space, no sky vacuum, these guys are all on trapeze. How do we prove it? Because they're obviously all on trapeze and there's a glass of water not floating?
The best part of that post, though, right, was that he juxtaposed this, and right after that, with a video of the most smartest, greatest astronaut ever, Don Pettit, saying that a glass of water or glass would never, ever, ever work in space. So, like, it picks up a glass and it shows you how a glass with holding liquid, that would never, ever work in space. And then it goes back to this with the glass sitting on the table in space. It's great.
Well, think about it, Chocolate. Say what Don Pettit said again?
That a glass like this would never ever work in space.
Yeah, proof that they're not in space.
Absolutely correct.
Thanks.
This is proof they're not in space. Space isn't real, though, because the idea of proving they're not in space still leaves you with the idea or notion that there could be a space, they're just not in it. Space isn't real, hence we don't need to go to this extent looking at glasses of water in fake cinematography. We already know they're faking it. It can be instantly deemed a hoax because space is fake. It's a violation of natural law. What do we do with the bullshitters in our community? I mean, I've seen a few comments from people that are saying, oh, well, now we've got the same in Flat Earth as we've got everyone else. Men versus women, black versus white, and now it's ether believers versus realists. But they don't phrase it like that. They call us particle believers versus ether believers, like this false dichotomy of... Go on. Was that somebody?
I'm agreeing with you because that's what they've been saying.
I think the correct phrase is atomists.
There we go. Atomists. It's like, how many times have you been on the show describing how this concept of atoms is described mathematically? Now, I don't know. There might be people out there on the flat Earth side of things that do reify these conceptual ideas. Same goes for wave functions. But we don't. We understand how they're being described mathematically, conceptually. Does that mean that there isn't anything in physical reality to deal with in physics? No, there definitely is. How we describe it with our crap use of language doesn't change the physical aspects of these things, and that they can be studied with science. They can. We can also describe them with mathematics. It doesn't take away from their physical validity. However, if you've only got a mathematical description of something and nothing in physical reality, then all you have is maths and not science. So my question, which is thrown out to you guys, is what do we do? Should we change our attitude to stop this claim to be false dichotomy? Ignore the crazy ether believers with their bullshitting, lying tactics to deceive their audiences? What should we do?
Keep hammering them. Every time they come in, hammer time.
Do you think it would help to point out to them that they're falling for the same trick they did with Earth Curve when they were heliocentrists?
We did.
No.
We did. We said, out of the frying pan, into the fire. You've been deceived by one religion, and then you've just found a new guru to deceive you with another.
But in the exact same way, because the same thing that heliocentrism does with the differential between two flat planes, they're getting waves out of a particle distribution.
I think we shouldn't start with the pre-assumption that whatever's brought to the table is nonsense. I think we should go a bit back to 2015 and what got us out of this mess, which is just believing in shit, or stopping believing in shit. Yeah, and as with any claim, look at it with honest eyes and appraisal.
But Adam, what are they bringing, Adam? We would, but what do they keep bringing?
Nothing. They tell us, like earlier on this very show, I think the guy was playing devil's advocate, but nevertheless, he's saying, well, it could be a medium beyond the understood containment we require, which is just an unknown medium, which is a contradiction in terms. It's an oxymoron. A medium describes how there is something, and an unknown medium isn't that. So it's an oxymoron.
That's the Platonic way of viewing it. The Greek, we breathe air, and then that blue stuff up there in the realm of the gods is the ether, which is the air for the gods to breathe. It's different, but that would be, as far as I'm aware, one of the Greek historical ways of describing it. Before you needed necessarily to attribute any function, physics function, to it, just a literal way of describing that it is actually something, and its purposes, it's the equivalent of the air for the gods.
You know, that you say that now, like I think I mentioned this before. To me, it just feels like maybe this whole thing is out of context. Maybe it's more of a spiritual type discussion as opposed to a scientific one. I mean, even they claim that there's no science for this. You can't. It's not manifest. Why do you know? What's that about? Why do you not know?
Bob claims it's science.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, we don't give a fuck about what Bob has to say.
True, and this is what I'm saying. Like to the guys that believe in ether, like, do you guys consider it more of a spiritual thing as opposed to a quantifiable scientific thing? Because if that's the case, then I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with this. If that's the case, right? So is that what you guys consider it to be, more of that than?
Yeah. Well, it's metaphysical. Cool. It's outside the realm. It's outside of the realm, just like the spirit or consciousness or even logic. You can't show me each one of those things, but they are there. They are present. It is aware that they are there.
That's ridiculous.
Metaphysical.
You just said it's outside the realm, but they are there in the realm. What are you talking about?
Outside the realm of science. Outside the realm of science. You can't science it. You can't science consciousness. You can't.
Well, how do you know it's there?
But they're there.
How do you know it's there?
You can only
How
know
do I know what
philosophically.
they're-
I think, therefore I am.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh. What do you mean? How do you know what's there?
Take
You
it as your
just
God,
said-
then, 10th. Take it as your God.
No, that's
How
not
do you
my
prove
God.
your God, huh?
Very
That's
simple. Creation
philosophical,
proofs.
isn't
Can
it?
you stop doing this?
Is
Every
it
time we
not?
talk about
Hold
Aether.
on,
Stop, okay,
creation
everyone stop a
proves
second,
God.
please.
That's
Everyone
number
stop.
one.
That means stop. Right. We started this discussion with QE coming into the fray by pointing out that if you're going to try and debunk phlogiston, you don't attract semiconductors. That's what you're doing.
What's ether?
I didn't say any of that right now.
What's ether?
What's
What
consciousness?
is ether?
There we go. What's consciousness?
Consciousness.
So rather than answering what ether is,
Show me consciousness.
so now you're going to rumpus the living shit out of me while I point out that to attack phlogiston, you're going to attack semiconductors. So we ask what ether is, and you ask us what consciousness is.
Are you retarded?
Ether, not
Are you
consciousness.
retarded? Are
Well,
you
ask me what
retarded?
ether
What's
is.
consciousness? Show me.
Ether. Simple
Show it me.
question.
Show
What
me consciousness.
is ether?
Sorry, why are we being asked to show what consciousness is? When did we make a claim about it? The claim
Because
on the
they
table is
can't
ether.
show you ether.
Thank you, Neil. The claim on the table is ether, not consciousness. Now, to my knowledge, none of us are here claiming that there's a consciousness field that encompasses the entirety of our existence. We're not claiming that.
Well,
I would.
okay,
That's
but
kind of
that
relevant.
is the thing. Ether
What
is metaphysical.
ether?
Consciousness
What is it?
is
What
metaphysical.
is ether?
So there he goes
Just give me
again,
a
contrasting
second
it with something it
on
isn't.
this.
So he's contrasting it with something it isn't. No,
Why
we don't.
just,
No,
who is it
I
in
literally said it
Discord?
2 times. Metaphysical.
What does that mean?
Why-
what does
why-
metaphysical mean?
It's the background, man.
Not what I asked.
I
We
just,
have an emissary.
I
We have
don't
an
use the
emissary
word.
called
I
Adam
don't.
Meakin.
Hold on, 10th. I don't understand what the word means. What do you mean metaphysical? What does that mean?
can I jump in on this? Because I think
No, just wait.
It's abstract. It's abstract.
What does abstract mean?
Oh my fucking god! Are we just gonna play this? You
Yeah,
wanna
well,
know
you're
what the word
using the
dub is?
words,
What-
Dumbo.
what is-
You want to use the word abstract. I'm going to say, what does abstract mean? If you don't like telling me what the words you're using are, don't use them. It's just that simple. Yeah, if you use a word to describe ether, I'm going to want you to qualify and describe that word to us. If you don't want to do it and you're like, oh God, I just want to throw out these crazy words, not define them, and then have you understand that the word that's undefined by me is actually the description of ether. No, that's not going to happen.
But that's the whole point, right? That's why I asked the question before about, is it more of a spiritual thing or in the realm of spirituality? Because they claim that you can't quantify it. It's not manifest. It's not something that I can show you or science. So I don't know. Like, again, I think maybe this is like a different type of discussion, and maybe we're just having it wrong.
No, they're having it wrong because they say
No,
it's a medium.
That is 100% right. That is 100% right. And
That's 100% right.
This is where
Really?
you're. Yeah, Eli.
What's
right?
abstract?
Or that was chocolate. Whoever said that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
they're
abstract
100%
mean?
right. You're having the conversation all wrong because you want to science the shit out of it.
What's
And when we
abstract? We don't
explain
want
it
to
to you-
science it. We want to know what it is. That has nothing to do
You
with
can't.
science. What is
Yeah,
it? What's ether?
QE. But
It has nothing to
the
do with
thing.
it.
This is where I'm trying to get to the guy, right? Because he's like he just said, you can't quantify it. It's not scientific, right? So yeah, there might be people. Hold on, there might be people in his camp that are saying it's science and saying you could quantify it, but that might not be everyone's stance who's having this ether discussion.
Who gives a
I
shit?
don't-
What is it?
Okay, so we're
Bro.
gonna follow. So we're gonna follow each equivocation fallacy, right?
can I just maybe ask a question?
Go ahead, Adam.
He is the emissary.
Who is it in Discord? Just so I can.
Khan.
Khan.
Oh, no, Chaos.
Chaos.
How do you say your name?
It's Shen Chaos.
There you go.
Oh God.
Okay. So from what I'm hearing there, like last week, when we asked what ether was, we were referenced with an analogy to magnetism. And now today I'm hearing it's like consciousness. So are you drawing it as an analogy to like a morphic field?
As a what?
A morphic field?
A morphic field?
Yeah. But no, then you don't know what that is. That's fine. That's obviously a separate field that's supposed to dissipate consciousness within animals, humans, shared experience, innate learning. When you're talking about consciousness and fields and...
You just get something squared away from the guy who believes in ether.
Well, not exactly, but it's... For your understanding, I guess you can kind of look at it if that's how you see it.
Says the guy that didn't know what a morphic field is.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Adam, 1 second. You're talking to a gentleman that asked a question last week to show him the mechanical parts of a magnet. Is that guy?
Yeah.
Why the hell are you even talking to this idiot?
I don't know. But this comment from Globebusters is directed at us.
What are they, QE? What are they?
Sorry, this question is specifically directed at us from Globebusters. He says, FED is incapable of understanding the science behind ether. That's what it says. Yep. So, guy in Discord, is it science or isn't it?
Nope.
It's not. So, Bob's wrong. Globebusters, even the guys on your own side who believe in ether know you're wrong. You don't understand science, Bob. Even Austin, in his own video, highlighted here by Rachy50, is pointing out that Austin understands it's not science and makes that very clear, but you think we don't understand that science. I've spoken to you personally about the science of ether, haven't I, Bob? You didn't know then either what science was, and you still don't. Let's get it clear. We understand there isn't any science for ether. Maybe you could present some, Bob, so we can take a giant steaming dump on your ignorance of science.
So are you still waiting for the answer for the mechanical parts of a magnet? You friggin' muppet.
Yeah, sure. Let's see.
Why don't you tell us? You asked us. That you must know. Please tell us the mechanical parts of a magnet. Go.
Well, it just seems like you guys never answer any questions that are asked.
So that sounds like total projection. So you're asked about the mechanical parts of a magnet, something you claimed here, recorded, and you're going to tell me and my panel that we don't answer questions.
Yes, QE has claimed that himself.
Sorry, that's projection. That's called projection. It's something that ballers do when they can't answer questions either. They project their inability to answer questions onto us and tell us that we don't have the ability to answer questions. Now, that'd be you.
Yep. No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not, because every time we come on here, how many questions do I ask from each and every single one of you? About half a dozen from each. When
really?
We ask one question,
and you answer all of the ones we asked of you. Then, so what's wave function collapse? You said it was maths.
Did I even bring that up now?
Yeah, you did. You said it was maths. You dumb shit. Yes, you did bring it up, specifically telling me that it wasn't science. And then when I asked you, after asking me what the natural phenomena was, and I pointed out after you asked me what the natural phenomena was, that it was wave function collapse, answering your question, I asked you if you knew what wave function collapse was, and you did not.
Who cares?
Who cares when you're asking us what the phenomena is, and I'm telling you what the phenomena is for your question of what the phenomena is? The phenomena's wave function collapse. So who cares? You do. You asked about it, you stupid boy.
I asked.
Yeah, so you care, you stupid dick. Why are you asking me who cares when you asked the question? Stupid ether believer. You're all idiots, you ether believers. You've got a very, very limited understanding of almost everything you spew. This guy's no exception. He's got no understanding of what he's talking about. He asked me what the natural phenomena was in the double slit experiment. I told him with his constant interruptions and fundy muting as I did so. And then when it's pointed out that he's been told what it is, he just didn't understand what that phenomena was and couldn't describe it, he tells us that we're not answering his questions. We did. You asked me what the phenomena was, I told you it was wave function collapse, and asked you if you understood what that was. You didn't.
No, actually, I didn't answer because I wasn't able to be present.
So what's wave function collapse?
Are you measuring with the wave function?
Who's White Knighting
Hold on,
for him?
hold on. He asked me a question.
I did. What's wave function collapse? Would you like to answer it?
Oh. Still no answer. We'll just sit here and wait.
What, for you to become less dumb? That'll take a long time. We could sit here and wait all day for you to become less dumb and understand the answer to your own question about the phenomena in the double slit experiment, but I won't be sitting all day hoping that you'll become less dumb with time, because that's not going to happen. Entropy will take hold. You will become more stupid the longer we wait here. It won't take any amount of time. You will become more dumb the longer this goes on.
Question, Nathan, not you. I asked QE a question.
Oh, did you really? Because you're in charge of the show and your dumbass questions about mechanical magnets are going to be flying here because you're in charge of the show, are you, Dumbo? No, you see, what I do as the host is I humiliate you. After you ask me what the phenomena in double slit is, I tell you and then ask you if you understand, and you don't.
Just shows that you don't understand.
Oh, it's just projection of I don't understand what wave function collapse is. So if I don't understand what wave function collapse is, given that you asked me what the phenomena in the double slit was, and I told you, that means I don't understand, even though I've asked you what it is and you don't know.
And you jump around to another question.
Like, you're just going to point out that the question you haven't asked hasn't been answered, and that's jumping around to another question. No, it's the same question. What's wave function collapse? Something you claimed was mathematical only.
Didn't answer that question.
I asked it. It seems that projection of us being the ones not answering the questions is just pure projection. Yeah? So unless it's a question you're asking, which has been answered, you asked me what the phenomena was in double slit. I answered. Yeah, I did. I asked. You asked, sorry. I answered. So you're just lying when you say we don't answer your questions. I did answer your question. I told you what the phenomena was after you asked me. Now I'm asking you if you know what that phenomena is after being told as an answer to a question you asked. You're still going along that barking trip of telling us that we're not answering questions? No, Ether believer, you aren't. You're projecting.
Nathan, is it possible that he doesn't realize why asking about the mechanical parts of a magnet is nonsensical?
No, he doesn't know that yet.
Well, okay, I have another question for the Ether guys. So you say you ask us a lot of questions, but you're asking us questions about something that you guys juxtapose with consciousness. How do you want that to go?
Wrong,
like
wrong. You already got it wrong.
No, he did. You did juxtapose it with consciousness only about 10 minutes ago.
Did you not do that earlier?
He did.
I did not.
Yes, you did. It's recorded and broadcast live to an audience of over 115 people. You absolutely juxtaposed it with consciousness.
That was about Ether.
Yeah, so you did juxtapose Ether with consciousness then, so you are in fact a liar. And now you're lying about your juxtaposition of Ether with consciousness when you said, no, that isn't the case. Yeah, that definitely was the case.
Maybe he didn't realize I wasn't talking about wave function or double slit or anything. I'm asking about Ether, right? And the string of questions that were asked about Ether and obviously this whole discussion. But you guys juxtapose, well, maybe you, I don't want to generalize you, but you put it in the kind of the same basket of consciousness. So my question is, how do you expect that to go when we're talking about something like consciousness? It's a real question. I'm not trying to be a dick or anything like that. So
correct me if I'm wrong, right? I'm not claiming that Ether is consciousness, but within something like the double slit or the quantum eraser tests, what is the causal mechanism for the collapse of the wave function?
Knowledge of the which path?
Not Ether.
Sorry, what's this got to do with Ether? Why are we now talking about the double slit experiment again?
I'm asking what is the causal
Why? What did we claim? What did we claim about it? To be defending it, we need to have made a claim about it. I'm not claiming anything.
Well, I'm trying to clarify. But listen to me for just a second. I'm trying to clarify because most of the information that you find online is that the conscious observer is the causal mechanism for the collapse of the wave function.
The conscious
So is that the
no.
causal
That's
mechanism?
incorrect. That's not correct. The conscious observer doesn't cause wave function collapse. You can have a conscious observer watching diffraction and nothing will happen.
It's
That's
the
not correct.
So is
knowing.
that
That's not correct.
so consciousness is the causal function?
Sorry, when I
with-
just said no, that's
not
wrong,
even
did you
listening.
feel that
Is he?
repeating it for the second time would make it right? No, that's
Well,
incorrect.
you got a bunch of people flipping over you, so can you explain it to me? What is the cause of the
I did.
collapse of the wave function?
I did. Knowledge
Knowing.
of the which path, knowing which path it went through. That's not a conscious
What-
observer.
So,
It's knowledge of which path. Which path
So
did the light go through? Did it go through?
conscious-
Oh, my
so
bad.
consciousness would
It's
be the
only me
cause.
explaining the fucking answer to you, you dumb shit. Shut up! What's your malfunction? Why are you babbling through me? I'm answering you. Knowing which slit it went through. Now, did I at any stage say consciousness observance? No. Knowing which path it went through.
Isn't that possibly
knowledge
incorrect as well?
is the cause.
No.
Knowledge of which path. That's which path information.
So knowledge
the
of which
information.
path
Yeah,
causes
Yes, yes. Knowledge of the which path information. That's correct.
Is knowledge require a consciousness?
No,
Yeah.
but a consciousness will
Hey,
recognize.
no, hold on. That wasn't your answer.
And then when you
said
say
a
something logical
conscious-
like that, you get laughed.
Hold on, we're
Shut
getting
up.
White Knight Rumpus, discussing it with a different guy now, Chaos.
He said he claimed a conscious observer. That was your answer, not consciousness, you clown.
So
You said
is an
conscious
observer
observer.
conscious? Can you have an unconscious observer?
Conscious observer
like a-
was your specific claim.
Like a slit detector.
Oh,
Sorry, is a slit detector a conscious observer? That would be a camera pointed over one of the slits so you can see which path it went through. Is a slit detector conscious?
Does it have knowledge?
It's a slit detector. It's a fucking camera. What do you think?
So my camera has knowledge?
No,
Does not
but the camera
obtain-
detected.
God.
No, but the camera detected which path the light went through.
You can't
It's more about the
measure
information,
consciousness.
So the
right?
camera is the
No,
cause?
but you
No.
can't measure consciousness.
No, which path information for the 5th time? Not the camera. Where did you get the camera? It's the cause. When I said
You
5
brought it.
times, which path information? How do you extrapolate camera from that? I asked if the camera was conscious because you're saying it's consciousness that's the cause, even though you don't know.
Can an unconscious thing have knowledge?
Like a camera.
Correct.
Hold on a second. The delayed quantum choice quantum eraser took the slit detectors out.
Yeah, we haven't got onto that yet.
So
I
that's
was coming.
nonsensical.
Don't
Oh.
ruin where I'm going with this. Don't ruin it. I'm going to get rid of the slit detector next. You're ruining this, John.
But he said conscious, and you can't measure consciousness. This is like a whole department.
That's
no, he
fascinating.
said-
It's fascinating. If we were measuring consciousness, we're not, though. We're measuring which path information.
Right, which is very specific and narrow. It's which of these paths. That's the range, the scope, the complexity of the information.
Yep.
It's basically information
Yep,
that
correct.
causes it.
Spot on, Arwin. Good, well summarised.
Can you manipulate this information?
Yes.
Whether or not you know which path it went through, you tell me. Do you think you can vary whether or not you know which slit it went through? I'm trying to lead you to come to your own conscious decision making and logical inference from this. Your question is, I don't know why I'm doing this. Why are we doing this? This is a question about ether. And now here we are talking about the double slit experiment and the scientific validity that's given us the computer you're asking me on.
Yep.
So, ether. Meanwhile, ether. Let's talk about...
That's just an observation, then. You're not
That's fascinating. Yeah, that's fascinating. We've got a claimed experiment in the form of a ring laser gyro. It's claimed to be an experiment. Now we're all clear. We've got science for quantum. That's not what we're discussing, though. We're discussing the science for ether. That's what we're actually discussing.
So you're observing effects, right?
So what's ether?
He's just asking us about basic science now. Natural phenomena, yes, that's what we observe in science. So what's that in the form of ether?
What's an electron?
Why is every ether question always answered with another question that doesn't address ether?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe project onto us after that we're not answering your questions about something that's totally unrelated to ether. It's actually us not answering your questions that's the problem here. No, you've got a claim, an all-encompassing ether that envelops everything, but is undetectable, unmanifest, but yet you still believe in it, and you think you've got science for it. That's what we're talking about.
So where does the photon go?
So what's that got to do with ether? We're not talking about photons, we're talking about ether.
Where does it manifest from?
Ether?
Where does it manifest from?
What, ether? Light? I don't think it does. I think ether's just a load of old nonsense you guys believe in. Is it time for you to rumpus me? Because it's not the question that you want to answer about ether and your claim of ether. You need it to be a question of us about something we're not making claims about at the moment. That's not ether. Therefore, rumpus me when I point out that every time we try and tie him down to answer one of our questions about his claim about ether, he starts rumpusing me because we're not answering his questions about particles.
What's my claim about ether?
That there is some.
When did I state that?
That's a good point. I don't know.
He no longer believes in ether, so we can go ahead and move on.
Okay.
That's how I take that.
So you're not an ether believer?
No, his questions were about the double.
Sorry, was that a question to you, Khan? So you're not an ether believer?
No, but you guys got...
So that's not a question to you, Khan. Do it again, and I'll just remove you from this conversation.
Claim ether at all.
Right, bye-bye, Khan. Bye-bye, dickhead.
The experimental validation of the double slit experiment actually being an experiment and what you're varying.
I just have some basic questions about photons and electrons.
Oh, really? Not about ether
then.
But why? The conversation is about ether.
Because I want to understand fully the mechanisms within quantum mechanics.
No, you're full of shit because you can't prove ether.
Sorry,
It's
why?
very easy.
Why?
It doesn't have...
Why? What does that have to do with ether, the subject on the table?
You're right. I shouldn't try to understand it. I should just...
Sorry, what does that have to do with ether, the subject on the table? Your personal knowledge in regards to quantum mechanics is irrelevant to this discussion.
Does anybody have...
Go and get a book on it, you stupid shit. I'm not here to educate you on fucking quantum mechanics.
Because you can't.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
okay, then.
Sorry, we're not talking about quantum mechanics. Your vain attempt to ad homing me won't work.
Your vain attempt...
Sorry, stuttering wanker. We're not talking about quantum mechanics. You are, because we're asking you about ether and you can't prove it. So you need to change the subject double quick pronto to something that isn't ether and start asking us questions so you can retain the conversation control. That's not going to work here.
So, Nathan, what is a...
So if you're not going to answer the questions about ether and you don't have any input on ether, you're only here to red herring away from ether then. That's your only objective, to red herring away from the discussion on the table then. That's your only objective.
What's the question about ether?
Sorry, are you not discussing ether? If you're not, shut up. Good, glad we sorted that out. We won't be red herring away from the discussion on the table. So there's a claim of science when it comes to ether. Fog gyro is claimed to be science by, let's not be too blunt about this, retards in flat Earth who think that a fog gyro is somehow a naturally observed phenomena and that somehow that's going to be scienced. No, it isn't. You guys don't understand what science is when you claim ether. Meanwhile, quantum mechanics might be very useful for computing, has sod all to do with the nature of our reality in terms of the discussion on the table.
I wonder sometimes if they just bring up Ether just as an excuse to start asking questions about other things than Ether. Because it happens every time. They go through all of it. Light, magnetism, quantum mechanics, blah, blah. So, yeah, it's a very interesting conversation, but none of it is actually about Ether.
No, when they do it, because they have nothing for their Ether. But they're...
Yeah, but you can turn a table only so many times before it's right back up. So...
Sorry, I had some noise. No, they think that going to the double slit is some sort of victory.
Yeah, because it means they don't have to talk about Aether anymore. Much easier to attack someone else's claim than defend your own nonsense.
They never did talk about Ether. They used the word, but nobody knows what it is. And then when you ask, then it's everything. But then when you want to get specific, then it's just something else that isn't Ether every time. Just like, what are you doing?
YouTube says Ethor, E-T-H-O-R, E-T-H-O-R, and then puts a hammer after it.
Did you notice at the beginning how he associated myself being a Christian and believing in the Creator for the cause of everything to Ether? So really, consciousness in the universe is now become their God, and it's become Ether because they can't take the God of the Bible who's going to judge them one day. So they got to regulate that God into consciousness and being one with the universe. This is so obvious what they're doing.
But is that not how my question kind of fit in? Because again, what I'm hearing is more of a spiritual conversation than an actual physical scientific conversation. And I said, if that's what it is, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you nailed it.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Yeah, while you might like talking to stupid hippies with their stupid nonsense that they spew out things that can't be proven, I'm not interested in that at all, Chocolate, here.
Well, no, not here. But what I'm saying is that the problem I'm thinking is that there's two factions, right? Or maybe not two, but there's different factions. And one is claiming that it's science and it's provable and you can detect it and measure it. And then I guess the others are saying that you can't.
So the problem is they're believing in that Muppet Ken Wheeler and whatever their high priest says. And now Bob.
Well, that one gentleman seemed like he.
Sorry.
I don't want to generalize all of them in the same basket. You know what I'm saying? That maybe I'm being the good cop here. I don't know. This conversation doesn't really go anywhere. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just a whole category error or context error. I'm not sure.
Aberration. It's an aberration. Somebody in chat right now is telling me, no, Arwin, you're wrong. Ether is form.
Thank you for chat skanking.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say that one gentleman seemed like he was on the right path to figuring it out when he asked if there's a way to manipulate the information. Talking about slit detectors. I don't know. I have hope for him.
For the Ether.
He's not an Ether believer.
Napalm, not an Ether believer.
Napalm, the guy who was talking about the validity.
Oh yes, he is.
He just said he didn't claim it, which infers that he wasn't claiming it or wouldn't be.
Oh yes, he is. He's just a lying piece of shit.
Oh, when I asked you if you're an Ether believer and you said you weren't claiming it, and asked me when you claim it. Now he's getting rumpusy. Seems that when I pose a question to these Ether believers, they decide that they're just going to talk straight through the middle of me.
Oh, he's an Ether head.
I asked you for proof of Ether, and you said you weren't claiming it.
You didn't ask me for proof of Ether.
But the entire discussion was about Ether, and I pointed out that we were moving away from the discussion on the table of Ether in favor of you moving the conversation away from Ether. And then you pointed out that you weren't claiming it. That's what you did.
It's not how it went. You can.
Sorry, not how it went. I asked you specifically why you were moving the conversation away from Aether. That's what I asked. And you said you weren't claiming it. That is how the conversation went.
I said I didn't make a claim of Aether.
Yeah. So, in reality, you are in fact an Aether believer, and you just jumped on the bandwagon of take this conversation well away from Aether.
Because you don't understand.
Sorry, don't ad hom me, dickhead. We asked about Aether. That was the conversation on the table when you jumped in and started asking about particles. Now it's pretty clear that you are an Aether believer and did need to move the conversation away from you proving your belief in Aether. That's what you did. When you said you weren't making the claim about Aether, when you moved the conversation on the table away from it.
What's a virtual photon?
So why are you asking us a new question? New question that's not related to Aether again?
Because we're trying to expose your belief.
Sorry, expose my belief? No, we're trying to expose the nonsense of the assertion of Aether. We haven't laid down any claims. That's been the discussion on the table the whole time. But you need to move it away to discredit me personally. That's what you need to do, right? Not back your claim of Aether. Discredit me personally.
No. But 1 second.
What's
he
a
said,
virtual
what's
photon,
a virtual
Nathan?
photon, right? Well, why don't you go ask that Aether knucklehead Gleam, who's been using virtual photons as proof of Aether for the past 4 fucking years. Go ask him.
There you go. There you go. There's somebody who's using photons from your own side
virtual?
of Aether believers that is making a claim with it. Gleam is making a claim.
Gleam.
How
Yes,
is
sir.
something virtual a proof?
They're going to go and ask Gleam?
Yes, Gleam.
Yeah, we're not making a claim about that.
Who?
Gleam. You're talking about particles and photons, right?
Is a photon a particle?
So we're not making a claim about it. The claim on the table is that there's this all-encompassing Aether that is part of everything in existence. That's a pretty bold claim that needs backing.
Is a photon a particle?
So you're going to ask the same question that's not related to Aether again? Is your only purpose in here, in this conversation, to take it as far away from your claim of Aether as possible?
Far away from his religion.
Why can't you back your religious belief in Aether? Why can't you just tell us what it is? You're going to ask me a question about something unrelated again?
That's exactly what it is, a religion.
I'm going to have to retract my hope for him. I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to
It's not just a religion.
He's going to tell us how he's trying to understand something that's unrelated to Aether now. I absolutely guarantee it.
No, I'm just trying to
Aether
find
is not
out
just a religion, it's a mystery religion.
where the
because
photon
they don't
comes
know what
from,
it is.
how it manifests.
Well, when it's talking about the Aether, it's coming from your own side. Gleam, we've given you an example where someone who is claiming Aether is talking about it. We're not. But you constantly want to red herring away from your claim. Your claim. The one you said that you hadn't claimed, the one you lied about, so you could continually and perpetually ask us about something unrelated? That lie you told? Yeah, you are an Aether believer.
Can you rewind and say where I claimed Aether in this conversation?
We know you're an Aether believer, and we were discussing Aether when you jumped in.
Yep.
Yeah, you dumb
Are you a
shit.
photon believer?
So you're going to immediately ignore that you jumped in on a conversation about Aether to perpetually red herring away from the conversation about Aether. And when I point out that you are in fact an Aether believer, you say, well, I didn't claim it. No, you only joined in the conversation on Aether to take the conversation as far away from the bullshit about Aether as is humanly possible. So what's Aether? You have got a belief in this Aether shit. And I just want to believe like you just want to believe in particles unrelated to this conversation about Aether. You being an Aether believer, I'm asking you about your belief and I'm asking you for your science in your belief. Have you got any? Or are you going to ask me an unrelated question for the 5th time?
Do you want me to answer your question about Aether?
Yeah, what is it?
It's the etheric energetic background in which all energy manifests from.
Energetic. So Aether.
So when your photon becomes a virtual photon, where does it go?
Oh, that's your virtual
photon. Sorry, you used the word ethereal in your description.
Yep.
Yep, the etheric.
So the etheric, so ether, so Narnia is the Narnia region. It's the Narnic region, right?
It's the energetic.
It's the Narnic region. If I am asked what Narnia is and I say it's the Narnic region, that's just using the same word in the description of the thing you're trying to qualify. That's what you've done. Maybe attempt to move on to particles again. You haven't demonstrated what ether is. You've just made a baseless assertion that includes the very description that you're trying to prove.
He could just go with energetic background, right?
We heard you the first time. Etheric background. Background, okay, behind what? Behind what ground?
Energetic background.
Yeah, I heard background. Behind what ground?
The material.
The material? So it's physical then?
No, it's behind the physical.
So physical is a material. Material is physical. That's what material is. So you can show it me. Show me the physical material.
You don't have any physical.
You stuttering wanker. I want to see this physical material you've said it is. Show it me.
No, I didn't say it was physical.
You said it was a material. Materials are physical.
No, he's saying it's the background behind the material, Nathan.
So what material would it be behind?
Wrong.
And then show it me being behind it, please.
Oh, that's wrong too.
Wrong.
What, behind? What?
I don't want to hear wrong. I want you to tell me outright what you claim is.
Maybe get its definition I got.
It's the energetic background in which all energy manifests from.
Behind what? Behind what ground? I asked you this already. We heard you the first time. Repeating it constantly won't answer the questions that follow up your statement and baseless assertion. Behind what ground? If it's a background, it's behind other ground. So what ground is it behind? And how is it physically behind it?
In which all material...
So he's just chanting the same claim over and over again through the top of me.
Yeah.
You're going to need removing, aren't you, Napalm?
Into the material.
So he's just chanting the same exact thing over and over again through the top of me. Behind...
because you can't understand.
Yeah, he can't listen. No objection or question that follows is 5 times repeating the same thing through the top of me is going to be accepted. No questions, just chant the same thing 5 times.
You have no knowledge.
We heard you, and now it's followed up by ad hoc. So now it's going to be baller tactic of chant the same thing 5 times, chanting through every single response that you get, and then ad hom, rather than listening to it being repeated again. So when he actually shuts up, which he'll never do, he's still chanting the same exact thing from the top of me. There he is chanting. He's not listening to me. Doesn't want to listen to any questions that follow up his baseless assertion because he can't tolerate questions following up his baseless assertion. That's why he's chanting his baseless assertion over and over and over again through the top of me. That's what he's doing right now through the top of me.
All you're doing is...
All you're doing is stuttering through the top of me, wanker. You're not addressing anything that we have as objections to your baseless assertion. You're just talking through me.
What was your objection?
Behind what ground?
Behind the material realm.
So behind the physical is the immaterial, the non-physical.
Is energy physical?
Sorry, why is it that I'm asking you to clarify what you've just said and you ask me a question?
Ask me the question again.
So it's behind the physical and it's non-physical, non-material, behind a background to the material, physical.
Mm-hmm.
That means it's non-physical, non-physics, not capable of being scienced, not even capable of being shown because it's non-physical. So this is nonsense.
No, he said it was energy, Nathan. He's saying there's a non-physical energy. That's what he said.
Oxymoron.
He's trying to suggest
it's an oxymoron. You can't have non-physical energy.
Yeah,
where does energy manifest
energetic background, so that must mean it's a non-physical energy.
That's
like
an
a married
oxymoron.
bachelor. Have fun.
Where does energy manifest?
Why are you asking us a question? We've pointed out that you've got an oxymoron. You can't have non-physical energy.
Where does energy
So
manifest?
why are you asking me a question? We're pointing out the oxymoron contradiction in your statement. You have ignored it now 3 times in favour of asking a new question.
Yep.
Yep. So you're a chanting fundy. Chanting fundies who come here to tell us about the non-physical, non-showable, but simultaneously incorporating everything in known existence. Yeah, that's total nonsense.
You realize the idea of a non-physical background.
An idea isn't physical. No, I don't pay any credence to Muppets' ideas of non-physical physicality, because it's an oxymoron. I've already pointed out to you that it's an oxymoron. You just haven't acknowledged it.
Hey, moron.
So get out of my show. Chant through every last word I say, then call me a moron. So move from the pointing out that you've got an oxymoron, a contradiction in terms, to calling me the moron. No, idiot. I'm pointing out your contradiction. You're not just going to call me a moron rather than address me after rumpusing every single attempt to point out your contradiction that you didn't listen to. Did anybody in Discord hear me pointing out to him his contradiction? I realise I can watch his line dancing up and down the entire time I'm talking, so I know full well none of you heard it. Did anybody in Discord actually hear the response to him, or did you only get to hear him repeating the same claim 5 times?
No, we got to hear you, Nathan.
Oh, well, that's a nice response. Didn't expect that. Good. Why didn't he address it, I ask myself? He's got a contradiction in terms. Non-physical, physical. Undetectable, unmanifest, but yet physical and scienceable. These are contradictions in terms that he cannot address. So what?
Nathan,
I'm a moron for pointing that out when he hasn't addressed it? No, definitely not. An ad hominem fallacy. That's why he got kicked out, in case anybody's wondering.
Nathan, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
It would seem to me, based on the number of them that have come on and discussed this matter of ether, that, again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think there's a link that all these people were evolutionists and didn't believe in the metaphysical at one time. But now that evolution has been disbanded, proven wrong, doesn't exist, can't define it, never seen, they need something. And so rather than say the creator or God, they go to universal consciousness, metaphysical ether. And so they were once evolutionists who didn't believe in any of this stuff, and now they're promoting it.
Honestly, that might be the case, but I really do not care. Because what it's actually doing is distracting us away from pointing out that space is fake. There is no sky vacuum. That the place they're claiming to currently go to the moon, even though it's been delayed, they're not going to space to get to the moon. So if we can be preoccupied arguing with the people who get that little bit more extra promotion because they talk that little bit of extra shite to the people who have woken up to the nonsense they've been lied to about, much better to have us arguing with these idiots than arguing with the globe-believing Muppets we defeat so easily, because then we're preoccupied talking about ether to anyone who comes here, and they won't hear how the sky vacuum that they're claiming to travel through to get to the moon is completely fake. You've all been lied to. Now, for the small majority of idiots that have jumped out of the frying pan of globe Earth and into the fire of ether, they think we need to occupy our time with that. No, the Western world still believes they're on a sphere, and that sphere is falling around the sun in a sky vacuum. A very small proportion of these idiots that believe in ether really are inconsequential, unless we occupy vast chunks of our time not debunking the globe Earth paradigm that the Western world is actually under. Very few people believe in ether. Just a very small select chunk of idiots in flat Earth believe in ether.
I would like to point out that Einstein's claim of space-time was similar to his description of ether being the background medium.
Yeah, what a shock. These ether believers have just got some old heliocentric trash to peddle from Einstein with his background. Eli,
Well,
you're
I
off
mean,
mute.
I guess they would say, yeah. Sorry for the music.
That's all right. I thought you were just off mute. Go
But
ahead.
yeah, they would. I guess they would say it's not science, number one. But I think the only qualifier for that is well, when they're saying nothing doesn't exist. I guess that's the only portion that's pertinent to when they're saying it's not science, it's just logical.
But their leader is saying that it is science. Dumpster fire.
When you say nothing,
I'm just trying to represent the streets.
No. It's not. I don't know. It's no. The answer to that is no. I don't know. He wrote it down.
I'll read it. FED is incapable of understanding the science behind the ether. Bob Nodell.
Wow.
When you say nothing doesn't,
well, I can't represent him. I'm just trying to represent.
Yeah, but I can. He's on screen right now. It's directed at you. It's directed at you. FED, that's you.
Panel.
That's you. He's directing this at you, personally.
While saying it's not science, I guess some would double speak and say, well, there's an effect happening in the Michelson-Morley. Like if there's something going on, and it would be a shame. It would be a shame to ignore.
Oh, really? Where's the Michelson and Morley phenomena observed in nature?
That's the thing. It's not.
Oh, so it's not science then. So when Bob says we're incapable of understanding the science behind ether, even though Austin Whitsitt is making it very clear in his video that it isn't science, it's that we don't understand, Bob. No, Bob, you're a fucking retard, Bob Nodell from Globebusters, and I'm going to make that absolutely plain right now. You want to go on chat comments telling me that I'm incapable of understanding the science behind ether? There isn't any, you fucking idiot. And I'm going to tell my audience that. Please go and repeat to Bob that he's a fucking idiot. You want to tell me and my panel we don't understand your science? You haven't got any, you complete retard.
I think
real quick, Adam. The problem I see is that they try to parallel the Michelson-Morley with the quantum realm, I would say. And I'm sure you guys would say there are bits of it, bits of the rhetoric that go beyond the science, right? And none of us here disagree with that, but what do you mean?
Two people just did, before you finished your sentence, two people disagreed with you, Eli.
Point to it, isn't it? It's if you're going to make a comparison to anything, and I alluded to this earlier, we were mugged off in the past. To believe in a magical force of gravity. And one of the things that held it together was two balls in a shed. Yeah. And what was attributed to the issues in that mechanical device. Yeah. And this is exactly what we've got here. Yeah. In the same validation of the ether. We haven't got anything. Yeah. Other than a bit of claimed gravity force. In this case, it's ether rotation. The only place it exists is in an interpretation of the results. There's nothing within the experiment that's supposed experiment that is testing, manipulating that, or even aware of it. Yeah, it only exists in an interpretation of the data. That's very different to the quantum stuff, fundamentally.
And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. Huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the super chat and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a name! What a lovely name!
When you
I don't
say
think it's an
nothing
agenda.
doesn't,
Go ahead. Sorry, John.
I was just going to say, when you say nothing doesn't exist, right? As a statement on its own, that seems like a double negative, isn't it?
Being a double negative or a truism, I always say, so what?
Yeah, it's a double negative. If nothing doesn't exist, yes, double negative.
Right, it's just a way to beg the question of something existing, right? To say nothing doesn't exist, that's double negative.
So we must have something behind the dome that's the ether.
Right, well, isn't it all about just believing there has to be something where there isn't anything? That's really the key with ether. It's like, it's the non-manifested thing that you believe it leads to the manifestation of all things. That's really where it goes with them.
That might be the case.
Hey, Nathan.
Go on, Q.
Nathan. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm sick of this, right? I've attempted personally to educate Bob from Globebusters on what science is and is not. I've talked to him personally about his gyro and how it isn't science. So for him to go around saying that we, FED, are incapable of understanding the science behind ether, well, you're calling us out, Bob, aren't you, in this statement? Well, no worries. You want to call me out about not understanding the science behind ether? We will go through the lack of science in ether, Bob. Humiliating your dumbass in the process. There isn't any science for ether. There's no naturally occurring phenomena for you to science.
Oh, and by the way, Witsit is fair game to you. I tore him a new one privately. I'm sorry about bringing Bob into this in the beginning. I didn't mean to surreptitiously, get everyone involved. It's me and Bob. I'm
not
searching
all
for that.
No. That's not correct. It's in this chat comment. FED is incapable of understanding the science behind ether. Oh, are we? Incapable of understanding science? No, that's pure projection. Bob does not understand what science is. I have attempted to educate his dumbass personally about what it is. Now, he didn't accept it because it went against his religious faith in ether. Now he's going to tell me by way of projection and my panel that we don't understand the science, in quotes, of ether. There isn't any. He's an idiot. Now, if you want to believe, and that's what this is, Bob, when he tells you that ether has science behind it, then you're just as deceived as every other globe-believing muppet out there, and more fool you.
I was just saying that I didn't mean to get all you guys involved in this, even though I'm well aware of that comment. First thing when I got back, I seen somebody sent me the Raichi video, and I was laughing my ass off. He had some things to say about me, but he always does. He's a chat skank. I just don't want to. I don't want to be the guy that you think is railroading you into this conflict. You see, I should have taken care of this about 6 years ago, and I wanted to, but I was talked out of it. Right? That went against my better judgment. I knew where this was going. So if I'm getting you guys involved, it's going to be a shitstorm. You already knew it was coming.
I don't mind the slightest. I'll deal with whatever comes across our path while we're here.
All right.
QE, I think maybe it's not exactly between you and Bob or you and the ether. It's between ether and truth. And you're just, you're taking a lot more onto yourself than you need to.
Oh, no.
I think it's between truth and begging the question.
No,
Sorry.
I could have smashed this 6 years ago. I wanted to.
I fully blame QE.
You should.
I
It is
also
my
blame
fault.
QE.
All your fault.
It is. It's not funny. It is.
Look,
I've already taken that responsibility. I'm going to fucking fix it.
I think if they want to make it personal, let them. I'm more than happy to deal with whatever they're bringing to the table. But this currently now has a very familiar tone to it. We've gone from the ad homs, and now we're wandering into us being called science deniers. Seems very much like the fight with the ballers. So I've been there before. I didn't need to sink to the opponent's standards then, and I won't now. But any real argument or even any belief that they'd like to discuss, bring it here, and I'll happily go through it.
Adam, you're right. It really is uncanny. It's like the exact same thing. We're fighting ballers again.
Well, I'll try to shift it over to the emissary when possible because I'm going to rip their friggin' guts right through their throat.
Yeah.
This is all gravity all over again, right?
Respectfully, right? If they've, in a way, I win. That's my gut feeling. But, if somehow they have cracked the secrets of the universe, I'd like to hear about it. So, yeah.
We have. Don't play coy with me, Adam. You and I both know full well that we've spent 5 years looking at it. We know what Aether is and what it isn't, more importantly.
But there are so many different types of ideas of Aether, and they're not really connected. And that's the real problem, is
They're
that
all full of
these
shit.
Ethereans, they over-connect it all. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't do that. Because it's not connected, all these different types of ideas of Aether. That's not the thing to do. That's the same problem that was even sort of happening in the physics community, where they just thought like, oh no, it's all one thing, like light and matter and electricity. It's all one thing on a different string or on a different frequency. And that's just a mistake. It's something that humans want. They want it all to be one simple thing, straightforward. But it isn't. And
Did you
yet
hear
they
that?
hold on to it. And that's the same thing with Ether.
Did you hear that fucking idiot Witsit make that claim about a medium? He claimed that the medium definition is debunked because it came from materialists. That was his argument.
Wow.
That was leading out the gate. And then immediately went to quantum mechanics like a fucking idiot. Then he said, I caught this before I turned it off. I was fucking laughing so hard, that there is no speed of light, but there is a rate. What the fuck is speed?
A rate.
What?
Yep. Go listen to it.
Oh my God, he sounded like a baller.
Dude.
Yeah, man,
So it's like super fast, but it's also instantaneous, man.
The other problem we're facing is that the effect that pride has on people when they're trying to relinquish their bull belief is tenfold if you've already gone through that process once. In other words, if you've had the humility to go, oh my God, I was deceived, it's not a ball, space is fake, we're on a flat earth. If you then jump, as I've said many times in the show, out of the frying pan and into the fire, it's going to be 10 times more difficult to convince that person that they've been duped for a second time.
Oh, that's okay. I'm not into convincing people.
So, Kiwi, when is this destruction starting?
Now it's already started.
I just wanted to know when it's starting.
It already has. When you see people like Rachie and others, she's not alone in this, pointing out their contradictions as well, you think, great, people have caught on to the contradictions that are coming from people like Globebusters in this regard. They've set themselves up as a new guru, and they've punted you a new religion.
In the show earlier, we were looking for the word that they are using. I don't know. It feels like it's intended to be derogatory, or are you atomistic? And I just want to kind of address that because it is an interesting point. I'm a chemist. The concepts, and I think I've been through this before, require an atom, a physical entity. So am I atomistic in that sense? Yes, when I'm dealing with reality.
Of course.
Am I painting a reality of that's how it operates inside the atom? No, not really. That's a mathematical understanding. But particularly with QE, you look at quantum mechanics, and that destroys everything anyway, atoms included. So if you get to that level, I think if that is being used in a negative way over it, I don't think it's particularly fair to be correct that is what the base assumption over here is.
It isn't. It's a false dichotomy they've set up. So they can have a way of constantly repositioning the argument away from questions they need to answer about their claim to questions we're not needing to answer about a claim we haven't made. But if they insist that it's ether versus, what was it, particles, what was it they were saying is the contrast? Atomistic.
No.
Then it's false dichotomy they've set up.
Yeah.
Quanta.
Yep, exactly. It's they're claiming we are materialists like the Baltards, and the ether believers aren't. That's just basic. I went over it earlier. Well, Witsit, what are you made of? Immaterial? What about the bed that you slept on and the pillow? Immaterial? What about the toothbrush and the toothpaste? Immaterial? What about the toaster oven? Immaterial? No, you're a fucking materialist too. Of course, he's confusing materialism and philosophical naturalism because he's a fucking idiot, right? That's the game that they're playing. They're having a juxtaposition of us, the bad guys, as being materialists now, but they're not materialists. See how dumb fuck this is?
Oh, so
Yeah,
it's
but to
one.
be fair, though,
I
materialism
see.
and,
So
and
it's
the other one are very easily mixed.
It's one sidestep away when they call us atomists from undermining science itself. That's their overall gain. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they're claiming that they're not materialist. We're the materialists. We're the evil bad guys. That's what I'm telling you. That's what it is. You've heard it.
So we're having a physics discussion, and they're accusing us of being materialists.
QE.
Yeah.
I got a question for QE. QE, if we take away their Ferrari Testarossa, will they become materialists?
Well, no, hold on a
I'm
sec.
just saying this is a physics discussion. Shouldn't we be materialists?
Yeah, dealing with the physical.
No, hold on a sec, because there's a problem with this. It seems like gaslighting, but if you're claiming that there is a background medium, how are you not a materialist?
Yeah, they're energetic back. Remember this, Nathan, and I got something else for you, Nathan, too. Just wait 1 second before you go. That's what we already ferreted that out, that there was an immaterial material because energy is material. Nathan, when they asked you, I don't know how they asked you because I got in late. There is no natural phenomena in the experiment. The question should have said, what was the natural phenomena that led to the experiments? The natural phenomena is diffraction, not wave function collapse.
Okay, I did say that initially.
Okay. Just so you don't keep repeating it. I wanted to bring it. I didn't want to bring it up during the show.
This is during the show. What are you talking about?
Oh, it is during it. We still on?
Well, we're not live, but yeah.
Oh, you're still recording?
Of course.
So is a rate of induction the same thing as speed? You believe that?
Well, speed is described as a rate, though, isn't it? Rate of distance over
induction.
Time. Rate. Rate.
Right.
What is rate? Define rate.
Right. So speed, right, of induction, though.
Speed.
Not the same thing as.
So it has a speed.
So this, right. So, but the speed of inducing.
So the speed then. So let's just before we move past that. So the speed.
Right. So it's not the speed of the object.
You said that too quickly. You went right, but then not the speed. Yeah, that's the rate.
Speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not really the argument. It's not the speed. So it's the speed of the light versus the speed of the medium, right? So it's like the difference of how fast does water move, or how fast when I open this door, will the water move through that door?
No, we're not talking about water. No.
What medium?
The speed of a medium. Like, what the hell?
No, we're not.
The induction, right? So as it opens up and something else goes into it. That's not the same thing.
What opens up?
As the object. Whatever it is, right, but it's not the argument.
Whatever it is.
The object itself has a speed.
Sounds like you're talking about your wife
God,
now.
everybody else, right, five-way conversation immediately induces because somebody's talking total shite. Right, you're not being clear about what you're claiming. And then when we try and clarify it with you, you say things like, no, that's not the argument.
Right. So I mean, I'm just listening in on the argument. I mean, Witsit makes some good points. So, like, if I'm faced with the choice of
Really?
believing
Like
that
what?
photons, if I'm faced with the choice to believe,
make?
Can you guys shut up in G+, please?
if I'm faced with the choice to believe that photons on the double slit experiment are watching me versus there being a background medium, I'd rather. I think I'm going to go more towards Witsit's side on that than light is watching me and changing its behavior. In the past to affect the future. I mean,
I've had to completely shut down G+, because they can't listen. They just want to talk through every word of the discussion. Yeah. Thank you, G+, for having your own conversation. So you think particles of light are watching you? That's what you just said.
Well, I looked up a couple citations where physicists believe that may be a factor.
Right, physicists believe. Witsit showed you citations that demonstrated what physicists believed, correct?
Right.
And that was juxtaposed with ether. So ether's being juxtaposed between citations that Witsit provides of what physicists believe, correct? And based on that, you think Witsit's got a good point because it contrasts the citations of what physicists believe, and that's something to do with what we say or claim or what?
No, just the idea of these of it being a particle or a wave. Is it physical and is it time traveling? If that's the one science, I'm going to discard that science and see what Witsit has to say.
Stop. That's my point. That isn't the one side. Light being a light or a particle because of the wave, that's not the one side. That's the side that Witsit puts forward. They're both his sides, one of them being wrong, because there is no light, wave, particle duality. That's nonsense.
More worryingly, I heard time travel mentioned there as well.
Let's just get the light bit squared away first. You think that one half of Witsit being believable in his ether claims is that one side of the dichotomy you've just laid out is what physicists believe based on his citations.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's an oxymoron.
Okay. Physicists...
That's an oxymoron.
Hey, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Believe?
Getting there.
Good.
Yeah, physicists, they would be in the practice of physics, wouldn't they?
Oh, right, yeah.
Right. So our position is that it's not science. His position is that what physicists believe is X, and I believe something different. That's not our position. Our position is that physicists will be dealing with physics. That's the study of the physical and natural world. And that would mean that if they're doing science, they're studying a natural phenomena, something that Witsit doesn't have. So what physicists believe based on what Witsit cites is irrelevant, and certainly not a juxtaposition to his position, nor is it our position. Our position is, this should have some science if we're going to believe it. And if it is science, it'll have a phenomena to study in the first instance. And if you haven't even got a phenomena to study, this is total shite.
Magnetic fields are a phenomenon.
And that's ether. And that's ether.
Part of it?
And that's ether, is it?
Here we go again.
So, Arwin, can you shut up? That's ether, is it? Magnetic fields are ether.
I'm not sure. No, I'd have to go back and kind of just go over. He had some good points in there, but
that's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. Try and pay attention. Electromagnetic fields, are they ether?
No, he said magnetic.
My bad. Magnetic fields.
No, wait. No. Let's get specific. He said magnetic fields, not electromagnetic fields. These ether believers don't even know the difference. So let's get it straight. He said magnetic fields.
Fine. Not electromagnetic fields, but magnetic fields, as you stated. Is that ether? Or is it magnetic fields?
I mean, it depends on who's defining what.
Depends what we assume. Depends what we beg the question of, right? Depends what we assume in the first instance. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. No, it does not depend on what we assume in the first instance. Magnetic waves aren't ether. It'd be nice to have a phenomena to study in the first instance, rather than looking at what physicists believe as a comparison to what we say, which is that they haven't got any science for ether. So, is there a phenomena to study? Not magnetism. That's not ether.
Well, it may not be.
Hold on, 10th. He's being asked a question.
Oh, I thought he was done. Sorry.
Did you not hear me asking him a question? What's ether?
Yeah, so I'm not an ether expert, or I'm saying an ether believer, but I am starting to find interest in the ether because of this duality of what I'm faced with. On the other hand, to believe on this particles and things that can't be verified. So why not look into another?
Yeah, you're juxtaposing it with something that it isn't. So particles,
atoms, yeah, and neutrons and electrons, yeah.
So what have they got to do with ether? How are they contrasting ether?
No. I mean that's just one side that you could start to invest in, and
wouldn't it be more sensible to invest in the bit that proves ether as opposed to something that doesn't? Which bit proves ether?
Yeah. So if you know what something isn't, then let's go find out what it is.
That's bollocks. That's an argument from silence fallacy.
Sure.
No, that's not the case. No, not knowing what something isn't. No. See, in science, you have a method that has a null, which means that if you think something will cause an effect and you vary it and it doesn't, that in no way gets you, well, it gets you a tiny bit closer to knowing what will cause it because you know what doesn't. But it doesn't help you understand what the cause is when you show what it isn't. That's incorrect. Now, science makes provisions for that. Not what physicists believe, the method that's involved if you have a phenomena to study. Now, so far, we're still not getting to the phenomena, and you're now talking about how particles might not do what you think physicists believe them to do.
But I mean, in my mind, the phenomena is how is the sun moving in the sky? How are the stars moving in the sky?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
that's fine. No, that's fine. So the phenomena is star movement, then.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd be trying to find the cause of star movement, then, as the phenomena.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what's making the sun and stars move in a circle.
Right. So your dependent variable is star movement.
Right.
Right. And what's the independent variable, that which you assume causes that? Is it ether?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Something else. Yeah.
Oh, right. That's brilliant. Ether, you think is the independent variable, then?
Yeah, so we have to learn how to manipulate it, yeah.
Oh, right. Well, can you show it me first? Then I'll figure out how I can manipulate it once I've seen it.
Yeah, no, I believe it's something to
I don't want to know what you believe. Show me it so I can figure out how to manipulate it to see if it causes star rotation. Can you show it me so I can figure out how to manipulate it to cause the star rotation, please? Can you show it me?
Okay, so you don't. Yeah, so I mean, is there another idea on how this?
Why are you asking me something? Don't ask me something. You've just said dependent variable ether. Now we're going to need to vary it. In order to vary it, I need to see it.
Well, you don't need to see it. You need to.
Oh, do I not? So I can vary the invisible that's not touched? No, mate. Don't tell me that I can vary something that I can't see. That's nonsense.
You need to see the effect. That's what you mean.
So the effect is star rotation. We already established what the effect was. Star rotation's the effect. You're saying the cause, independent variable, is ether. Now we're going to need to see it to vary it. The effect star rotation.
Vary and manipulate the magnetic field.
Sorry, magnetic field is an ether. So what we're now being told is that star rotation's the effect and magnetism is the cause.
Yeah.
So who's varying magnetism and varying star rotation? I'll say again. Who is varying magnetism to cause star rotation? Bearing in mind, this has fuck all to do with ether. This bollocks that magnetic fields cause star rotation. Fuck all to do with ether, you spastics. Do you hear me calling you spastics? You're claiming magnetism causes star rotation. Who's varying magnetism, not ether, to cause star rotation, dickheads? You bunch of spastics! You're all idiots! You bunch of flat earth wankers! You hear me, you flat earth retard wankers? You're all thick as shit! You think magnetic fields cause star rotation? And that's science, is it? Shit for brains, retard flat earthers. Why aren't you answering me, you thick shits? I've just been told that magnetism causes star rotation. You bunch of fucking idiots.
So it doesn't?
You are a fucking retard.
I'm just asking a question.
You're a fucking retard. That's what you are, fucking ether-believing retard. No! Magnetism doesn't cause star rotation. Maybe you can show me the experiment where someone varied magnetism and stopped the fucking stars turning! You stupid idiot! Are you this fucking thick? Think someone's brought out a fucking magnet and stopped the stars moving? You fucking retard. You are an embarrassment to me as a flat earther. Do you hear me?
Deny Earth's magnetic.
You are an embarrassment. You think Earth's magnetic fields has been varied to stop the stars turning? You are an embarrassment. Do you hear QE laughing at your stupid shit that you're spouting? It's an embarrassment to me and everybody else who calls themselves a flat earther.
I mean, so far I'm just saying that hey, there's a North Pole. And there's
You so far are saying that the independent variable is magnetism, and that causes star rotation.
And could have some sort of.
Could it? So where's the experiment where someone varied magnetism to stop the stars?
Have you even defined magnetism?
Shut up, Khan. Where is the experiment to show that a magnet stopped the stars, you stupid fucking spastic? Do you understand how fucking stupid this is, you stupid idiot? You and Bob Nodal are embarrassments to Flat Earth.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious.
Just curious about how magnetism stops the stars moving. Yeah, your curiosity demonstrates your stupidity. Now stop talking. I don't care how curious you are. You're curious based on some nonsense you heard from Witsit that you thought was perfectly valid, didn't you? You thought Witsit's shite was valid until I took you through the logical nonsense and pointed out that his claim is that the cause and effect relationship that is ether is actually cause magnetism, effect star rotation. That's what you've claimed here.
I mean, are you at all curious what moves the...
Why are you asking me this, you stupid shit? You think magnets cause the stars to rotate? You stupid idiot. I'm not blarting about what causes the stars to rotate. You are. You dumb shit embarrassment to Flat Earth. You're the one spouting this shite. You're the one telling me how credible Witsit is with his nonsense that doesn't make sense.
Hey, Nathan. Ask him
he
how
did
strong
do a
Earth's
pretty
magnetic field is.
Pretty good job of proving that cause is magnetism, effect is star rotation. He did a good job of that, did he? Or did his shite come here and get embarrassed by me?
Well, when he did his presentation on video, it was very well put together. It described
very well put together cause and effect relationship that is star rotation and magnetism. Fuck all to do with ether and total nonsense because magnets don't stop the stars from turning.
No, none of this was put into his presentation. I am curious about what moves. You asked me. I'm curious of what moves the sun and stars.
Then go out and find out.
Me personally.
So why are you talking about ether? How has this got anything to do with ether? When I'm asking what ether is, I'm being told magnetism. When quizzing you on the cause and effect relationship, you said there was a phenomena and then told me star rotation in regards to ether.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you stupid and fucking embarrassment to Flat Earth, you're claiming this stupid shit that ether's putting out there by Witsit and Bob. That's what you're doing here. It's not curiosity. You're parroting their shite.
I'm observing the sun move through the sky, right? I don't believe that it's 93 million miles away. I don't.
Nobody cares about what you don't believe. We disseminate to an audience daily how that's shite. Meanwhile, you are peddling ether and claiming cause and effect relationships with magnetism, not ether, and telling us our wits it's credible with this shite you're parroting.
Yeah, so when you're faced with the, you said maybe.
Yeah. So shut the fuck up, you stupid retard. Yeah, that is what you're doing, you dumb shit. And it's embarrassing to me and everybody else who calls themselves a flat earther. So stop doing it. Not, yeah, that is the stupid shit I'm doing. Like it's okay.
It's okay to not know the answers, yeah, and to try to find out what.
We know the answers. We know that magnetism isn't causing star rotation like you are asserting, you stupid idiot.
Well, I know that it's.
We know that's stupid shite. Don't tell me what you know. You don't know much. That's patently obvious. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking us these questions. You'd have gone out and found the answers. Instead, you're asking us because you're curious. Don't tell me what you know. You're curious.
Right, I'm curious with the answer, right? Yeah, right.
No, you're here telling me that you're being swayed by Witsit and he's got some good points. No, he has not got any good points. He's got stupid shit that he can't prove by claiming a juxtaposition between ether and magnetism, and somehow magnetism is actually ether and causing stars to rotate. Bollocks! Totally invalid, definitely not validated by scientific experimentation, just some nonsense he's made up. And then he's contrasted that with the beliefs of physicists. Like that's something we peddle here. It isn't.
What's magnetism, Nathan?
Who gives a shit? It's not ether.
Magnetism is magnetism.
Yeah.
It's not ether.
Wave it away.
So does it cause the stars to rotate?
You don't even know.
Does it cause the stars to rotate?
Listen, because you don't fucking.
Does it cause the stars to rotate?
Yeah.
Is a star, Nathan.
That's what he said before.
Does magnetism, the thing you're asking about, cause the stars to rotate or not?
How are you going to determine anything? You can't define.
Well, you've got a method for it. It's called science. First, observe a natural phenomena. Like star rotation, that's a natural phenomena. Then presume a cause of that effect, like magnetism. Then you vary magnetism to see if it causes the effect or not. That is called science.
Nathan, Daiso just said he knows what a star is. I'd be interested to know.
What's a star?
I asked Nathan what a star is. Nathan, he doesn't answer shit.
I don't know what a star is. Sorry, I didn't make any claims about it.
Suggesting that you know what a star is?
I don't know. I didn't make any claims about it.
So the answer you said, hold on. You said Dyslow knows what a star is. So then Nathan asked him what's a star, and then Dyslow asked Nathan what's a star. That's lovely. Can somebody tell me, fucking idiot, can somebody tell me what is the strength of Earth's magnetic field, please, in Teslas? Anyone?
In Teslas?
Yes.
I think it's 3.
It's 0.00005. Can somebody tell me the strength of a refrigerator magnet?
I think it's 3.
It's probably stronger.
0.001. Or if we want to use the antiquated Gauss, a refrigerator magnet is 100 Gauss, and the Earth's magnetic strength at the surface is 0.5 Gauss. So your idiots are saying that the strength 0.5 Gauss is causing star rotation.
Yep. Soddle to do the ether. Meanwhile, where's the ether in this claim? Oh, there isn't any.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry.
If that were true, then like all our electric appliances would be causing the stars to do all kinds of weird things.
Yep.
No, my whole kitchen is everything's rotating, even the refrigerator.
Right.
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of flat earthers making me look like an idiot. That's what this is. People are going around talking about flat earth and then talk this total shite about ether. Just brings us all down. Makes us all look stupid.
I got another one. Government of Canada, ca.gov. A toroidal field, on the other hand, is a ring or donut shape with no radial component. In the Earth, toroidal fields are confined to the core and are not detectable at the Earth's surface. Huh. Really? From the government of Canada. Do Canadians exist?
Yeah.
What core?
But if you're claiming you know,
Although Q is in the middle.
if you're claiming you know what a star is, are you? That means you're claiming it's a material. Are you materialistic
Oh,
in
we're
that
getting
belief?
off. We're going to the Star Horse shit. Let me read this again from the government of Canada. A toroidal field, on the other hand, is a ring or donut shape with no radial component. In the Earth, toroidal fields are confined to the core and are not detectable at the Earth's surface. What does the Ether believers have to say with that?
Isn't the Ether field a toroidal-based
Yeah,
field?
checks out.
They claim it's toroidal.
I don't know. I'd like to hear something from the Ether believers. And then I'd like the emissary to them. Ether believers, what's up with that?
As far as I'm aware, part of the discrepancies in the altitude readings of the fog that they used was attributed to this change in the compression of the magnetic field, which was assumed to be toroidal above us. And that fitted a pattern of this field, apparently the rate, change of rate of the alleged rotation it's picking up. So I would think a toroidal shape over this flat Earth is their assumed shape.
The government of Canada saying they're confined to the core.
But that is their claim cause, though, isn't it, Adam?
That's my best understanding. I mean, I'd stand to be corrected because it's not my claim, but my understanding always has been that that's what we're working with. Yeah, that toroidal. And Ken Wheeler loves describing that, don't we? And what are we shown in the ferrocells? That's what we're always describing. If that's not the shape we're looking at, why are we getting so het up about it when we look at it in a ferrocell? I would assume that there's a comparison between the two that we're demonstrating. And, like I said, I'm happy for that to be said. No, that's not the assumed pattern. And I think Cammy's look at the logo, Flat Earth Debate logo. That comes from that old magnetic pattern map, and I think they talk about that. So I assume they're probably talking about a combination of toroids to give that quadrupole at the north. So, yeah, that's my best knowledge, I think, of the position.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of this shite. Why have we got flat earthers punting total horseshit like this? I don't get it.
Well, not like we're being sworn with a plethora of globe proof, so.
Yeah, I fear that might be the reason.
I'd still like an answer to the question that I had concerning the government of Canada. Do you want me to read it again? A toroidal field, on the other hand, is ring or donut shape with no radial component. In the Earth, toroidal fields are confined to the core and are not detectable at the Earth's surface. I put the citation in Ballbusters, by the way. Can I get an answer from an Ether believer about this?
What toroidal field? Is it the one at the center of the presupposed sphere Earth?
Sounds like you're saying Earth's a globe.
No. You guys who claim toroidal fields are Ether are taking that from the claim that there's a toroidal field at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth. As I've said on many occasions, this Ether claim is an old heliocentric piece of trash that you've repurposed. Because the toroidal field is at the center of a sphere.
In the core.
Yeah, the one we debunked, we debunked that core. We debunked the R value, we debunked the sphere Earth. Yeah, the self-perpetuating molten iron core that gives you this toroidal field, we debunked that. Now QE's asking, given that there is no core, and the only toroidal fields described in it, where's your toroidal ether field coming from exactly? Is this just an embarrassing connection to heliocentrism directly? You and your ether belief directly depends on the toroidal field at the center of a sphere Earth. So without your sphere Earth, you haven't got an ether. Isn't that embarrassing to you as a flat earther? It's embarrassing to me. You need a heliocentric toroidal field at the center of a sphere for this claim. You realise that?
That's not true.
So where are you getting the toroidal field from then?
Sphere.
Where are you getting it from?
It's not a toroidal sphere.
Where are you getting that toroidal field from? This is embarrassing, lads. We can show you where you got it from. You got it from a globe. Hello? Your claim needs a globe Earth. Ether believers, you're listening? Your toroidal field... Oh, is this a shock? That Ken Wheeler, who is a globe-believing retard, doesn't need to answer this because he's a globe believer. So he can just say at the centre of my sphere Earth. What are you flat earthers going to say when you're asked where your toroidal field is? Go.
Magnetism is at the plane of inertia, not at the toroidal field.
So where's the toroidal field? It's being described by Ken Wheeler. It's frequently described by Bob.
Attraction.
You didn't answer the question. Answer his question.
Where's the toroidal field?
Toroidal field.
Just keep chanting. It'll be all right.
Don't you understand English? It's a very simple question. Ask him again, Nathan. Maybe he didn't hear you.
Where's the toroidal field that ether depends upon? Given you're all keen on telling us how it's magnetic and describing the toroidal field. Where is it?
Where's it come from?
Like I just told you, magnetism lies at the plane of inertia, not within the toroidal field itself.
Lies at the plane of inertia. Define inertia. Uh-oh. Forgot about that one. Right? You're just mindlessly parroting Ken Fuckwit Wheeler, aren't you? Ask him, then come back and tell us.
You're a baller, Dyslow.
Dude, yeah, you're getting caught in his technobabble, which is ball Earth based.
Well, you guys just don't understand what plane of inertia is.
Oh, we don't understand.
That's why Nathan, when he renamed you Just Slow, it was perfect, because you are just slow.
Oh, is that Dyslow? What's the difference between no thing and nothing, Dyslow?
Nothing is a concept.
That's the difference? Nothing is a concept? What about no thing?
Yeah.
We got Lawrence Krauss Dyslow here. Ether believer Krauss Dyslow. Please.
Yeah, you're just going to claim victory when I haven't even been able to answer your question. That's cute.
You just had your fucking answer, son.
No, I wasn't done.
No. What did you just say?
Yeah, emptiness, i.e. nothing, is just a qualifier of something.
Idiot.
So you're just going to chant through me? You're going to chant through me?
Fucking moron.
Are you going to shut up? Are you going to shut up for a minute?
Now you're going to talk through me, right? That ain't going to work, you believing clown fuck.
You asked me a question.
Yeah, I did. What's the difference between no thing and nothing, Krauss?
So nothing is a qualifier of something being empty of something else. There's no such thing as emptiness or nothing.
Empty of something else?
So you just defined.
How can you have something else if there's nothing?
You just defined
You're going off on a tangent.
You just defined what nothing was, and then said you couldn't have the very definition you gave.
Oh God!
Look, if you're defining definitions, just keep it rudimentary.
Thanks, Arwen. Have you listened to yourself lately? So the difference
Can you show me
between no
nothing?
thing and nothing. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, of course I start talking and then you have to talk, right? Go ahead, say it again. The difference between no thing and nothing, Kraus.
Nothing or emptiness is a qualifier of something being empty of something else. I.e., there's no such thing as emptiness.
Of something being empty of something else. That's nothing. Where'd you get the somethings from to roll them out?
Do you disagree that something exists?
That's not the definition of nothing. Why are you being so complicated about this?
He's not being asked to define nothing. He's being asked to juxtapose nothing with no thing.
I've already told you. Nothing is a concept.
Told us. That's the difference. He's already told us.
Can I pose a question to him?
Institutionalized.
Go on.
Can I pose a question to him, please? Die slow. Do you believe that God is the cause of everything, or do you believe in evolution?
I don't believe in evolution, no.
Okay. And why don't you believe in evolution?
I don't see any proof for it.
Okay. Now, what cognitive resources are you using to say you don't see any proof of it when the whole of the Western world says there is?
Really?
Yeah. The universities teach it. You don't know that?
Well, he said, 10th, hold on a second. He said he doesn't believe it because there's no proof of it. What about you?
That's where I'm going. Okay. So your cognitive reasoning says there's no proof of it, so you don't believe it, and I'm with you on that. So how about Ether?
Yeah, Ether's valid.
Where's the proof of it?
How? Show it to us.
Electricity. There's one proof for it.
That's electricity.
That's electricity. That's not Aether.
That's electricity.
Electricity. Yeah, electricity is not a thing of itself, though.
Wait a minute. So electricity.
Why not?
Arwen, go ahead and finish what I'm saying.
I'm sorry.
So you're going to use something else to tie into the existence of something that's not material and can't be seen. Is that what you're going to do?
It can be contrasted.
But if you can, then you can just make up anything because you can't see it. It's non-material. You could say my Porsche 911 has something to do with it.
And boll weevils.
No, it don't work that way.
Well, I know exactly. So where's the proof of this thing you can contrast with? Because you can just make up stuff to contrast something that you never prove, right?
Can't have electricity without the dielectric and the magnetic inducing one another. It's just the way it works, man.
Where's Ether?
Where does the ether come from?
Where's Ether then? So no ether.
The dielectric field is the ether.
What?
The dielectric field is the ether.
So it is a new gravity.
No.
Where's
gravity?
Where's the dielectric?
Exist.
Hold on. Where's the dielectric field? Where's that at, and what causes it?
I'm just pulled up to the job site.
Through Ken Wheeler's book, aren't you? It's funny your answers are vaguely Ken Wheeler-esque. What you reading?
That's not surprising because he did kind of invent this trick.
So, where's the dielectric field? Show us, and then what causes the dielectric field? Having a hard time. Is that in the table of contents? You better put it in there. This is a joke, folks. This is a belly laughing joke.
They make these tabs you can put on pages so you can it's like quick references. You could do that with Kent Wheeler's book, and just whenever you're asked a question, you'll have those tabs to pull to.
Unbelievable.
Well, I didn't know that dielectric field was a synonym for ether.
Yeah, me neither. Makes it sound like gravity more.
Everything's a synonym for ether.
A cinnamon?
Yeah, cinnamon buns.
Cinnamon.
I got this cinnamon bread right in front of me from Paula Dean's, Dolly Parton's thing. So, I'm looking at cinnamon bread and the word synonym, all right? But it's all a synonym.
Who asked you? Who asked you, Neil?
And what does this have to do with Ether, damn it?
Everything has to do with Ether.
Can I segue from incoherent background mediums?
Yeah, incoherent and yet coherent.
The Hammer is doing a refracted philosophy show this Friday.
Say again? The Hammer's doing a what?
Refracted philosophy show this Friday on YouTube and Discord to be confirmed. About time, 10 p.m. our time, Nathan.
Okay, cool.
It's a general chat, but this week we've got a special guest talking about 3D printing.
Okay.
Back to that.
It's like an open panel, really.
Back to the evolution question I asked, because evolution stands on nobody times nothing equals everything. So what does Ether stand on?
Same thing.
It's the incoherent dielectric field.
Is he still searching for the answer to that question? Or there were two questions, sorry.
The only thing incoherent is these answers we're getting. They make these claims, there are some hard questions, and they disappear, just like the ballers, because they are ballers. Just like the ballers. They do exactly what their brothers do.
Which is what, Brian?
Which is not come back and answer the hard questions. They just come back in and repurpose their claim.
Why did he have to come back?
Ether.
He came back because he died slow.
Why did he even have tomorrow? Why did he even have to leave? He said the dielectric field. I just asked him two simple questions. Show us the dielectric field and what causes it. Is that unreasonable?
Well, maybe he was just a little tired from trying to resist us.
And
He's been going at it for a while now.
Well,
rather than explaining why they haven't, maybe I can just paraphrase it to them. Can you show us the dielectric field and its cause, as that's being claimed to be ether?
I'm at work, guys. That's why I didn't respond. But yeah, there's a definition for it on Ken Wheeler's list. If you want to look it up, somebody, and read it to him.
No.
But I'm at work.
Hold on a second, Brian. Hold on, Dice Low. No. The word definition wasn't what we asked for. We said, can you show us the dielectric field and its cause, please?
Yeah, like I said, it's within the definition. It's all the information.
No. If I say, what is grass? And you say, go to the dictionary and look up the definition of grass. No, that's not grass. Dielectric field, can you show us it and its cause? Not its definition by Ken Wheeler.
Yeah, what is a dielectric field?
Yes, thank you, Owen. We'd like to see it.
That's like saying an insulator field. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, define dielectric first, since we caught on to you. What is dielectric? What does that mean?
It's where reality subsides within their two toroidal structures. So it's that middle bit where there is no overwhelming magnetic field. I think that's what he was wiggling out of earlier, or just claiming that's where we were.
I think this whole ether business is a diversion, because the subject of the big lie, the nature of our reality, and the destruction of the R value, and there's no globe, that's so important for people to give 100% focus on sharing with their fellow man. These people have said, okay, well, let's go to the ether. But the greatest deception is the globe Earth.
Nathan said it earlier. Exactly what you just said, Ted. Nathan said it.
And these people who are pretending to be anti-globe Earth are now switching and diverting instead of staying on the subject, which will open people's eyes about how scientism is ruled today rather than true empirical science.
Well, if
I've
it was
posted
just
something in main chat from Ken Wheeler.
well, if it was just
Hold on, Kiwi.
half-wit,
Just 1 second. Say that again. There's something in chat from
I
Ken
searched
Wheeler.
for dielectric field and Ken Wheeler, and I pulled up something. I've posted it in main chat.
Thanks.
all right. If it was just half-wits, you know, a small faction of idiots saying it, I agree, but we wouldn't be dealing with this. However, this is allegedly the highest of the high flat earther putting this out. See the problem?
Yes, that's why we're doing what we're doing now. Because it's an embarrassment to me calling myself a flat earther if somebody comes back to me and says, oh, so you believe in ether then? By stereotyping fallacy, because the most prevalent flat earthers do. Oh, do they? No, we point out to them personally, in person, to them, that it's not science, and how it's not science, and how it's a fallacy and affirming the consequent. How the same fallacy's been used by the globe to claim rotation of the Earth. But none of that's been, you know, taken into consideration.
Hold on. I thought we were the prevalent ones out of all the prevalent ones. It was us.
And check this little nugget out. A couple years ago, you know, when the gravity stuff was really heating up, and Globe Dumpster Bob, he brought up, somebody sent me a video where he said that we need to, you know, when we present our case to the mainstream, I'm paraphrasing now, when we present our case to the mainstream, we can't have these other flat earthers saying that there's no scientific evidence for gravity because shit falls, right? So to present his case, he had to at least commit to some form of gravity. Hey, Bob, right after you do that, tell those mainstream scientists there's no fucking atoms. Atoms don't exist right after you say that about gravity, right? You fucking clown.
I forgot. Yeah.
Guess what they're going to do? And then promote your ether you can't define. And then the science behind the ether. But that's okay. You still got gravity. You're still agreeing with gravity, right, Bob?
QE, you told them not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so they've just thrown the baby out and kept the bathwater.
Yeah. Can you believe that? Everyone get that?
Yeah, these people believe in gravity also and tell us that we should be approaching the mainstream with gravity begged.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what we're fighting against as flat earthers, people who want to tell us that gravity's scientific. Bob, Nodell, is telling you to believe in something we've debunked.
Yep, aberration boomer.
It's the greatest
aberrations.
It's the greatest contradiction of all time. He's going to walk into the auditorium with his presentation to the mainstream science, and then scientists, and then right behind that, he's going to say atoms don't exist.
With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting the thanks button, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.